are live here at Old City Hall where the Moors have returned. Sir, do you have anything to say about this matter?
Yeah. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Yep. Sir, what do you have to say?
I just want to put it on the record. I'm not right.
Yeah, what he said.
Moore's life matters.
More lives matter. It seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Shot in the back, running or choked out to death on the corners. Mistake this taser for his sidearm, says the coroner. To the yellow journalist that won awards for writing facts for World Web press stories, always calling them black. Civil rights violated. Here comes C1-7 and CIA and FBI agent, brethren, felons with what Big Brother once heard. Most Moors are nerds and study more than if I'm on the road, no biting curbs. No threats of nooses or fighting for survival. Making Moors martyrs won't happen, calling us captain rival. Inquisitionists, governors, and secretaries of state got stateless on their tables like ribeye steak with no care, blood dripping. They eat blacks rare. Foreigners wearing 6-point badges, pretending they're heirs to the vastness estate Muguri Balaksa. Stateless blood flow past a horse's brow, I swear it's agua. Demons thirst quench, stealing pioneers and organs. Psychiatry, death industry, to start selling black orphans and half-closed coffins, cause legs are missing, killing stateless people, cancer won't even see remission. More lives matter. But it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter.
System, what system? Not gonna make myself no victim. Run down and kick them up, educate oneself and flip them. All of the titles or nationality strips them. Must grip reality in order to really grip them in this third dimensional illusion. Organized chaos, confusion, stealing your attention. Mental intrusion, universal laws, declaration of the ancients. I self-law and master from the rooftops to the basements. Hoop deep to the spaceship, ever since all creations. Celestial foundations, ocean floor to the ranges, to the mountain tip, to the cosmic infinite. Basically, we are way above the shit. In other words, get in tune with spirit. Take a breath and accept mental polarity, gender, rhythm, correspondence, vibration, cause and effect.
More lives matter. But it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter.
More lives matter cause I sing it no sound off. It gets defective when rejected, looking ass off. Get my perspective undirected to a replay. All the news left on replay until they want to cast off. Bury them, on to the next one. Enough of them are gunning down. Dudes them a cast cross. Can't believe I told you that. Can't believe a Taj Boss, Trayvon, Michael Brown died for us to find cause. The afterlife visited the class wrong. Who they really want to see with the crown on high and the garbs on free? I am free and you know business but your land or your country to seek your inalienable rights. The insatiable delight of knowing thyself and bringing all injustice to light. But the fight is your plight, make your sight for the bright. I'm the mic in the night, foresight for you to realize that, huh?
More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. More lives matter. Cause it seems like black lives don't matter. King Boom.
The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it.
Dirty Moors still attempt to infiltrate the order. Active Moors are truth and take it to the corners. Across highways, past hedges and through borders. Move on dirty Moors like broken down waters. Watch out for agents and provocateurs trying to get next to their heads with the doctor's cures. They never pay dues and don't pay dues, contradicting with King Alfred to give blues like blues. Noble Drew Ali died from Palemore blues. Prophet saved him his money before the floor fell through, and that's true. Even though I don't have proof, selling memory tells me don't fall for spoof. Drop mental nuke, hanging from their own vine from the fig tree, looking up at them like Big B. No white flag or mercy for you fags. 5-point and pentagram is on our flag. Green, but not for cream. That dirty Moors took to throw off the balance of the Grand Treasury books, getting offers like high school ballers. Those that infiltrate are not Moors but robbers, robbing the people blind, deaf, dumb, and crippled. They can't tear this up, not one drop or trickle. No matter how hard they try to perpetrate the fraud, dirty Moors always fall on their sword.
The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it.
Me nah play with no so simmer and easy. From 19 how long, me see it's sleazy. So sick, it's measly and disgusting. Everyone stood there. The Moors did nothing when Drew was attacked. They took the covenant that they will protect him and have his back. Behind on dues by 4 months. Going to kangaroo courts to perform stunts. Temples versus temples. Lawsuits from inner fights. Not doing their job, 3,500 for birthright. Mufti Force left supposed to be in Gucci stores with God. I thank Allah for the Sufi Moors and Buddhist Nagas. Moorish mic renaissance, not rap sagas. Confusion clearer, MC battle scar wearer. Moorish nationality declarer. Straighten out the crooked ways, rap conduct squarer.
The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it.
Let me strip them down, I'm the bone bearer. Negro, black, colored, minority, death preparer. Not the being, but the label attached. See me like Martin, going crazy, waving gats. Cause you call yourself black, that's a kick me sign on your life. Can't stab your enemy, holding the blade of the knife. Numbskull MCs flow so dull that I'm pulling down Orishas like skull caps to torture the rapper, scissor sippers. Rapper, CD scratcher, insert ripper. Call me Jack and get slapped though. Admiral when I flow, major like macro. Don't spit on a man like Pac will, but beat the case like Black Bill, but no lawyer. Ask Jim Carrey, liars do nothing for you while they get rich and pour you. Make you follow magistrate orders that get the coke to snort from hood corners and block ghetto. All I see is rappers, dress codes, repedo, tight shirts, skinny jeans looking like heavy metal bands. I'm not babe but L like bread and hands. I grab mics, no sweat in hands. With birthright brands, I don't worry about getting scanned.
The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it. The problem is we started thinking like the colonists to know what you are. Started dropping it.
What up?
Northgate. H2O flow. Sheik, Canaanland, Moorish. Release fall. Shalon Davis. Salute. Hot house. Check it. They say they wanna learn, they only debate. Referencing the truth, trust me, they only sounding great. Study nationality before you question my estate. I'm not a minority, why you so late? Majority rules, here comes the test. Fact, that's my hand in the form of a V on the chest. That's a womb that is blessed like a moon and a crest. Major forever, infinite mindset. Major from birth, that's a seed in process. I'm a Moor, that is easy to digest. Competent, never tyrannous. That is my land, never faking. Secret traditions, petitions for what you're not Jamaican. Westmoreland to Portmore, everybody needs more. If you please more, Following the Apostle Bishop Report, I see the unseen more before. That's a fact. Canaanland.
They say they want to learn, complain classes are too long. Don't want it on a phone call, energy too strong. Get it from the wrong source, now they way off course. Think they must be Muslim and give up on all sports. Should give up the red meat, must give up on all porks. Won't be yelling haram when the bottles are uncorked. Eating with the spoon, use forks for tuning. Eating humble pie, no ego ballooning. Samson 2 caterpillars, got him cocooning. As the full moon hung, spiral energy moving. Up through the crown chakra, energy shooting. And told me upload classes before live YouTubing. 16,000 subscribers, 20% consuming. 80% troll pretending to be tuned in. Comment on every video, pushing the thumbs down. We'll push the link when we live just like a clown. Pouring in the incompetence, always debating. Dissing Drew Ali, but won't give their location. His image on the black banner, that's placation. Just get him out of here, Yusuf yells in frustration. We know they're playing games, we're not berating. Calling 911, scimitars penetrating. In defense of prophets and mothers abused. And newly awakened Moors, amused and confused.
So it's gonna get you in. What? What? I'm rockets. Who says we ain't in the building? Who says we ain't into building? We the Moorish master masons, architects for your children, repping Friday 30s like Jason without the killing. But we promote life, oh, it's all about the feeling. And we invoke light, yo, we them light beings. Though you might see him on the block getting his portion, might be talking to cops, giving them caution. Occasionally wearing his fez when he's walking, see the turning heads, whispering gawking. But he's locked in and he's zoned out while we boxed in our own house.
We study the mystics, the adepts, the magi, wisdom of the ancients can all calcify eyes. Possible mission, free mental numbness, extract the substance, rid minds of dumbness. Use the source, don't care what some purport, as we know by being told man knows not. Many before the cross, souls got bought, placed in the devil's hands, ruling the 7 lands. To dogma rituals, Negro spirituals, brainwash subliminal, keeps thinking to a minimal. They're still criminal, in a world digital so pitiful. Mental survival so critical, it's visible. Can you see past righteous blocks? Hashtag zombies with waves of cyber thoughts. No need for cell phones, they speak through saw palms. Nothing for alarm, chips and forearm.
Wind, brass, and bass, such a beautiful serenade. Women feeding me grapes, I'm feeding the Henry serenades. Whether the sky is clear or gray, rain when you hear a fake, giving life to see. Speaking through who not here today. Show you the future in a glimpse. Can always look to these holes like hallucinary pimps. Sun walked the desert, been more of a since I found God. Look back, used to see his prince. Forget being a prince, I'm a G. OD, grown man, no Jody, deny it, you don't know me. Don't make me tap into the old me. That's like a couple hundred years. Walk around town with a couple hundred peers and release the peace of up fears. The sun gon' shine, so what tears? This young brother here just trying to get his third eye clear.
Dish deep. Moors don't sleep, invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks, conscious thinking and living a dead attack. Dish deep. Moors don't sleep, invest in your mind and body and unleash. Real life rap, spitting over tracks, conscious thinking and living a dead attack.
So as the moon sets, the sun takes its place. It spoons on blocks, inspired spots, filled spaces. Peel back, rats, who got cases. Fire stain the corridors of flammable faces. Game changers, rule benders and no pretenders. Style lenders, channel my vibe through the vibrant optic lenses. Send a message to our veterans. Soldiers up and get it in. We on our verge, we are merged subliminal beings. Third eye seeing, still I participate unwilling.
They wanna break me, shape, bait, grade me. Rolling with my name G, double O-M-G. S-O-N is crazy for a minute that you think you could take me for a fool. Like a native to his land, being schooled by a foreign dude. You mistaken me, spiders on the roof. In the dark rooms, I be saying you mistaken me. You better move or I mark it. Power pennies, my tongue, your existence to target, revealing all lies and deceit on the market. Genocide carried around in pockets, I knock it down, bulldozer. David to Goliath, it's an exposure. Have some big cats ruling and it's getting closer to your downfall. Round up all your soldiers.
Little homie, I was seeking a fortune, tired of misfortune. I just wanted a portion, everything that I never had, though I needed my portion. Blowing like porcelain, haters cracking as porcelain. Getting broke, tired of being broke. How we acquire hope is the DJ skilling some dope, just to keep us afloat. Mind as deep as the boat, brain is a lethal weapon. We want it to elope. When I speak, I provoke. Walk in the room with my aura feeling like heavy smoke. Feel like when the levee broke under my Louis Vuitton, the semi-poke. Cause dirty cops will kill your boy, you ain't a joke. The cost of living, higher profits in private prison. These little girls are selling bodies just to pay tuition. These little niggas selling niggas just for bail condition. It's like the slavery never ended, we're the intermission. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and me one plan. I wanna free the world, but I'm one man. A couple ones like me and one plan.
Yo, we're here. Islam to all, wherever you're at. Honors to you. Welcome. We're here. Third Thursday. It's probably been about 6.
Thanks. Thanks.
It's been a few Thursdays. Islam is
Islam, peace, more. Peace to all the Moors tapped in. And you know what? It's all good. You know what I mean? Because we've been doing this for such a time, 11 plus years. I trust all is well, man. You took we had sometimes you need that month off for the introspection, especially the summertime. I think that was divine timing and planning. We got to give it a rest a little bit, but we definitely back in collab. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah. And back to show and proof and share and all of that. So I think the time off is definitely valuable because sometimes you just need that more. You know what I'm saying? And I trust, everybody's summer was good. We moving into the Equinox right now. So again, it's an honor to be here. As usual, but yeah, definitely more. We have so much content out that it's all right. You know what I mean? It's all right. We back. Yeah.
Yep. And again, speaking on the Equinox, the timing of it, right now, and us getting back on, you already know we get the best days.
Absolutely.
That this is almost the kickoff for it. This is the get yourself in order. The realigning of the inner and the outer worlds, because we already know what time it is when it's equinox time.
Absolutely.
It's about balance again.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that you do your best to balance yourself, cleanse yourself, connect with nature, send out intentions. It's that time right now. It's that time. Get into our hibernation state, and it's on when the spring equinox hits. So the in between is about your interactions with others, your interactions with self, your creativity, and unlocking yourself right now. Because remember, it's gonna be a burst when the spring happens. So right now we're just revving and getting ourselves in order. So use this time to go within, battle some of those demons that you've been hiding from. Right? Deal with some of those, because you're gonna have time. And now it's a great time. Just go check your your zodiac and what you're supposed to do for the equinox. Go check yours, and it'll tell you. And do those things, and when the spring hits, there's going to be a manifest, guaranteed. Hasn't failed yet. Just like little voice never failed, ever. Anytime you listen to the little voice always right, and stopped you from doing some crazy stuff or going through some madness. Just a little voice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing with astrology. They never lied yet. Never lied yet. Even though I was speaking with them more about the whole thing with the calendars and time not being what it is and whatever. But interestingly, you know, astrology and all that stuff still works.
Right.
Whether it's 2025, whether it's 15 whatever, whether it's 5 billion whatever on the calendar, those planets, you know, whether Earth's flat and all that stuff, people was telling about happy birthday and all that stuff when on the flat Earth. Right? So if there's no Earth and planets and revolving of the whatever and everything's under this dome, how's astrology work still?
The true clocks of destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
People mad at CM Bay over that, you know? It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. You know? So there's a lot more. I just wanted to get the little Equinox rant out the way early because, you know, we got stuff to do today.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. We definitely going to show and prove today. But you know what? It's important to take that moment to acknowledge these times, you know what I mean? And these stations of the sun more. Because you know, this is, again, I'll emphasize it from my understanding, and again, it was in chapter 1 of the Circle 7. These are the things that actually help us lead ourselves to victory, you know what I mean? And so again, like you said, no matter what year you want to call it, you know, the position and the stations of the sun, it is what it is, no matter what numbers we as humans attach to it, right? So whether it's 2025 or 1443 or whatever, right? Like the where the sun and the universal alignment is at, you know, that it is what it is. So the energies don't lie. That's why it hasn't failed, because it is what it is, you know. And so yeah, more as we approach this season of the equinox, I can't help but to think, right? Like as we going into Libra, you know, it is such an icon and an emblem of balance that they even use it in the judicial system, you know, with the woman with the blindfold and the scales and the sword. And again, as I said before, you know, if you want to exchange the sword for the scimitar, however you want to see it, you know what I mean? It actually means something. So the symbolic lesson in it too is all around us. And on that note of moving into Libra and the balance and the justice, you know, I was speaking with more a few weeks ago. And again, this is not me trying to take a shot at anybody or anything, but being real about what's real and what's not. Like in these days and times, you have it again. I am a Moor. I have nothing against Moors. I do know that we don't all have it right and exact, and it is what it is. But there will be Moors that naysay against us, right? And they also say things like, well, we're a part of the temple and we don't teach civics. And I'm like, yo, that how could that be, right? If the 5 principles are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, you know, those are civic principles. And I mean, like, you could literally look them up in the law dictionary, right? There's a definition for freedom. There's a definition for peace. There's a definition for justice. There's a definition for love. There's a definition for truth, right? And these are all civilized principles. So you really can't be about Noble Drew Ali's work and agree that the 5 principles are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, but then say, you know, we don't deal with civics when all of those are civic principles. It's impossible. So I just want to say from the jump, like, please be careful. Anybody telling you that they deal with Noble Drew Ali, but don't deal with civics, understand that is a no pun intended on the Moorish flag. Let me not say a red flag. That should be a warning to you that they might not be on what they say they on, because it's definitely 5 principles that are civic. They're not feel-gooders and principles. So yeah, more. I just wanted to say that. No slight, no shade, but I do.
Pardon the interjection, more. What? Since you're on that topic, what do you say about people who say that the ID cards and the judicial proclamation and name correction are unlawful or unauthorized? They're not in order. Like 2025, somebody saying that.
Yeah, they probably repeating jargon and BS they heard, but I would say this. First and foremost, to put it in perspective, right? Because things are about perspective. We Moors, we as Moors, we being Moors, for real, like it's a bloodline. It is a nationality. So when they say it's not authorized by who? I want to ask first, and then to say, oh, the paperwork is this, that, and the third. I've studied, right? Like John Bouvier's Concise Encyclopedia of Law. If you look up the definition of rights, like your unalienable rights, your birth rights, your civil rights, whatever, right? Under the definition of rights, it clearly states that the people have right to communion, letter, speech, print, etc. So if we decide we want to say the same thing, that is absolutely civil. And it is a part of proclaiming our nationality, because I know this for a fact, and this is no slight, no shade to Noble Drew Ali, but Noble Drew Ali didn't make the nation of Moors. He came to give us a message. There were Moors on this planet, specifically in North America, who knew that we were not Negro, black, color, etc., prior to Noble Drew Ali establishing the Moorish Science Temple of America. It is what it is. We have the facts to prove that. We could do it tonight. On another note, I want to say that for the aspect of them saying the IDs are fraud, like I don't know what they be doing with their identification card, but we know Moors. I know Moors personally have leased buildings. I'm talking commercial property with their nationality card, got electricity turned on and utilities turned on with their nationality card. Have rented apartments for, as a matter of fact, with their nationality card that they did get from RV Bay Publications. That is a fact. And there was no discrepancy. So the discrepancy, I feel, is coming from Moors who think that anybody who's not in the temple is not a real Moor, and they got something against that because they believe whatever they believe. You know what I mean? But I also know Moors that have their nationality card from RV Bay Publications. They also have their driver's license. They also might have a state ID, and they all say the same thing. They don't have fraudulent intent. See, fraud, it has to be an intentional thing. So, when they say that, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, what are y'all doing to the point you can't get no respect or do nothing with it? Like, because there's Moors who are doing everything that they need to do or want to do with their nationality card, and there's no question. So I feel like it's a propaganda thing, and certain people start repeating that because they want the credibility, and they come from a lineage of people who claim to be prime ministers, which is not indigenous at all to Americas. No, it is not. I don't care what you heard, claiming to be a consulate. That is not indigenous Moorish activity. A consulate is for people from foreign lands in the land of another. And contrary to popular belief, Moors are home here in North America. Thus, there is no need for a consulate. So from what you told me, right, I haven't heard specifically what they said, but it's coming from people of that cloth. And I'm like, well, I would expect that. The wild part is, at the same time, they are biting the same nationality card, flipping it in the vertical format and trying to pump it to people, but discredit us, right? And so identity is in the law of evidence. In the law of evidence, that card claims that our ancestral estate is North, South, and Central America, which by historical facts and record it is, right? And then it claims the national domicile as North America, which it is. It is decolonization right there, right in the law of evidence. So I don't know what people are doing in their personal lives when they get these cards or what their mind state is, but I know there's a variety of mindsets when people get their nationality card. Like I said, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I know people who have, listen, my mother flown with her nationality card before this whole Real ID Act. And I want to highlight and loop back around to that when you talk about so-called fake IDs, right? Because like right now, I could go to the DMV and get a driver's license or a state so-called ID card that says right on it, not for real ID purposes. It say it on there in red print. And I'm like, yo, if I could go to the DMV and get a fake ID, literally, and they still will recognize it. Get away from us with that. Oh, Moore's got fake IDs. The DMV is giving out fake IDs. What are we talking about? You can buy one from the DMV. Y'all got any smoke for that? Or did y'all just go ahead and get you a so-called real ID with your appellation in all capital letters? Like, I'm tired of these conversations in a sense, because they're not dealing with the real or the logic of what identity is in the law of evidence. Right? Because when you look up identity in the law dictionary, that's the first thing it say, in the law of evidence. So right now, if I pull out a driver's license that say on it, not for real ID purposes, is that really my identification? I got it from the DMV, let's say. Is that really my identification? If on it, in evidence, it says not for real ID purposes. But if I have a nationality card, I don't see anywhere on the nationality card where it says this is not for real ID purposes, right? Because it is real ID, right? It is real identification. What other identification is going to list your nationality, your born date, your ancestral estate, and your national domicile? Show me in the law of evidence, how is that not legit? And then even if you don't, I don't care, but I know how Moors is moving. And at the end of the day, Moors is getting things done on a civic level with their nationality card. I don't know where they from, where y'all at, what y'all doing to be saying this. If you feel some type of way because, well, this Moor isn't in this temple, and if they are in the temple, that temple wasn't put together by Noble Drew Ali, so it's not official. Listen, Moors are a people. We are a lineage, and we have every right to represent that, to present that. You know what I mean? Again, Moors existed before 1913. There was nobody who can change the descent nature of man unless their power extends beyond the great universal God Allah, according to Noble Drew Ali's lessons, right? So if that's what we're using as the standard, stop playing with us, man. Stop playing with us, because we have historical documents, and all indigenous peoples exercise or practice this, or specifically exercise the right to self-determination in identifying themselves. So when it comes to us, I don't know what their hatred is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but no, it's not a fraud. It's not unauthorized. We the people have that right. You know what I mean? To have communion in speech, letter, print, whatever, and to identify ourselves. Again, the conversation ends for me where if any one of us could go to the DMV and get a card that says on it, not for real ID purposes, you got smoke with them, not us. We've been telling y'all that isn't real identification. It is a license instrument, right? Now they're telling you that this is not real ID. So now what would you do with a real identification? That's on you. You know what I'm saying? If you scheming and you don't know what to do and you doubt yourself and your national authority, if you will, or your substantive rights, I don't know what to tell you in 2025, so-called. Like you're riding on the wave of doubt. You know, we are certain over here. So, you know, I at least I know I'm certain. And again, I'm not sitting here hating on no Moors. I've seen for a very long time people who just hating on us, you know what I'm saying? And it's more so because what they believe Noble Dry Lee said and didn't say. And when you really talk to these people, they don't really even understand what Noble Dry Lee said. You ask them about what did the prophet mean when he said there was no need for the application of the 14th Amendment? Half of these people didn't even read it, but they want to tell you about what you are and what you are not. And they're not qualified for these conversations. I wish y'all would study more and hop off for real. Like study yourself, really. Because we see you, we see y'all, you know what I mean? And the reality is like, yo, they don't have the knowledge. And every Moor isn't moving that way. Again, there are Moors who have their nationality card from whatever venue they got it from, whatever Moorish outpost or Moorish Outreach Society, whatever. They have that, and they still have the other documents, and they're moving. You know what I'm saying? They don't have fraudulent intentions. Some of you individuals have fraudulent intentions, and it's reflecting as if it's us when it's not. It's y'all. Y'all want to play this. You know, I can't even speak for y'all. Y'all doing what y'all do, but the reality is, Moors know how to move in this world. And you know, maybe because you don't, you know, they feel like we out of pocket or out of order or whatever. I don't know. But what I like to present tonight is that we being Moors, we are a people who have been here for well over documented, well over tens of thousands of years. And you know, from the beginning of time, you know what I'm saying? And we have rights as indigenous people. I don't care how you feel about it. The rights of indigenous people is substantive rights for us via the 9th Amendment to the Constitution. Those rights not enumerated in the Constitution shall not be construed to disparage or deny the rights retained by the people. All right. So the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People are those other rights not enumerated that are substantive law via the 9th Amendment. Y'all could be mad at the law all you want. You know what I mean? That's on y'all. That's not my problem. I'm not going to let it be my problem. That is your lack of understanding. We here, we try to show up to show and prove to y'all, like, listen, we are a nation. We are a people. Whether Noble Drew Ali ever lived or not, we still have a nationality. And that's no slight, no shade, but some people are just stuck there. They can't go past 1913, bro. If we're going backwards through the ages. And even if we go forward, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we're still a nation. You know, it doesn't bother me none. Whatever you choose your religion to be. If you are Moor and you want to be Christian tomorrow, if you are Moor and you want to take your Shahada tomorrow, if you are Moor and you want to be a Buddhist tomorrow, it bothers me none at all, because it's not my choice. That's on you. That's what you do. That's where you may find enlightenment at. But I do know that all of those philosophies and ancient wisdoms come from Moors. And so I'm not mad at it. You know what I'm saying? But don't sit here and act like, you know, well, because you don't believe what I believe and what you think you know, which some people really don't know, that for somehow we out of order. You know what I mean? Nah, that's not the case. And so, yeah, I would like to stick to the fact that, yo, listen, we are Moors and we are a people. We are indigenous people to North America, South America, and Central, actually to the whole planet. But for political boundaries and purposes, we'll keep it here in the Western Hemisphere. This is our home, right? And so we have that right to self-identify. As a matter of fact, for Moors listening, right? We know the 5 principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I challenge anybody to look up the definition of freedom in their law dictionary and tell me what the first 2 words say. What is the first 2 words? You know, I'm not going to say it. Y'all, that's a homework assignment for your own studies, if you will. Somebody could put it in the chat if you like. But yeah, at the end of the day, you know, self-determination is real. And that's it. So if you confused, you don't know, don't do anything. Don't do it until you're sure. Study the principles first, and then you'll see that everything is aligned with that. So yeah, that's what I had to say about that. More, I didn't mean to go off on the rant, but you know, it sometimes you got to give different perspectives, because people swear that their point of view in life is the end all be all, and it's not. They don't know nothing. You know what I mean? There's Moors in their 80s with the so-called state instrument, and they got their nationality card, and they can never be questioned as being fraud, because it's on everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. And I'm not saying you have to have both of them to be legit. I'm just saying that some Moors are just on different levels more.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I can't speak for everybody. I just know what I know, if you know what I mean. And, you know, so yeah, because my question would be, who gave them the authority over the Moorish nation?
Right.
Who did? I want to show me somebody right now alive that was given authority over the whole Moorish nation. Who? And where did they get it from? When they say it's not authorized by who? This is what I want to know. Who's supposed to authorize it? Noble Drew Ali's authority, he's saying, came from the Holy Quran, or the Great Quran of Muhammad, Holy Quran of Mecca. Who gave y'all, who died and put y'all in charge? Because y'all, as far as the people you told me said this, you know, they've slacked off since Noble Drew Ali passed. Matter of fact, since Noble Drew Ali been alive. Since he was alive, he was calling these people out. So I'm not hearing nothing about that. Y'all, as far as I'm concerned, the Moorish Science Temple of America has not done what they were supposed to do. And that has been the problem. If y'all want everybody to live to this standard, why haven't you been out there on the hedges and highways doing what needs to be done? Am I sleeping under a rock? I haven't seen many. And then anybody who does in the name of the temple is always questioned. Well, that's not the real lineage of Noble Drew Ali's temples. And so all the fraud going on in the temples been going on before we was born. I'm not going to not be myself because ninjas decades ago never got it right. I'm not apologizing for it. I am who I am. I am a Moor. And I'm not going to not be a Moor because some Moors was beefing back in the 30s and the 40s, and y'all can miss me with that. You know what I'm saying? We here now, and I appreciate the history, but none of that substantiates me saying for myself, for my own soul and well-being, I can't say to myself that I'm not a Moor, because I've done the research and I know that that's who we are. That's who I am. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm content with showing and proving that on every level. I fought in, you know, I done all of it. You know what I'm saying? Fought municipal court cases, all of that. You know what I'm saying? And I seen the difference in knowing myself and not knowing myself, and the difference in that. You know what I'm saying? And more so, I was graced to know myself early and not late. So, like, people who may not have known and then later trying to figure it out and proclaim it, it may be a little bit more difficult for them, because now you got the system looking at you like you're a ward of the state. Homie, you've been on probation 5-10 years. You're a ward. You're a slave. You're a vassal. That's how they see you, not me. Mm-hmm. Right? And so now they looking at a vassal or a ward that's now trying to claim freedom, and they testing your chin. That's what's happening. It ain't fraud. It's that they're testing you. Oh, so Now you get some resistance. You don't believe it because they didn't just say, hey, access granted. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they denied you access a couple of times. Bro, you in a fight, bro. You understand that? Like, you're fighting for your rights, bro. This ain't no, you know, everybody's situation is different. So you know, when it comes to that, they say, oh, the nationality card is fraud and the paperwork and all of this. Like, come on. That's all of that is insulting, it's slanderous, you know what I mean? And they really have nothing intellectual to show and prove to substantiate that. You know?
And as usual, it's coming from your own.
Yeah.
And you're worried about some other whoever that's the enemy when it's your own that's your enemy. It's your own that's chasing you down to murder you for some dumb stuff. Your own. It's your own talking crazy.
Right.
But they're like you said, there's people on different levels, and there's levels in both the selves. There's levels to the lower self. It's not just the lower self and that's it. There's levels to how low your ass could go.
Absolutely.
And some people have gone to the depths. Some people have gone to the depths. Right? Soul more than their soul.
Mm-hmm.
But that's their position. They have that right. They have that right to go do that.
Yeah.
The issue is the ones who don't see the BS. The ones who get played and then after the fact, now they want to have to call people. After they went and followed whoever over there, they messed their whole stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you're gonna go to all these whoever's out there that are saying, teaching sovereignty and teaching trust law and teaching whatever, and they never mention Noble Drew Ali. When everything that they're talking about, he's the founder of bringing that to our mindset. No one was doing that before him. As far as we're concerned, everybody was playing whatever game they were playing with us without giving us the truth, without telling us about nationality and everything else that we're supposed to know. When they go and they say the IDs are a fraud, but the IDs have Drew Ali's nationality card stuff on the back of that. And how are they saying that they don't honor Noble Drew Ali? It's being presented wrong.
Mm-hmm. And his message came from people who predated that.
Right.
You understand? When we say we Moors, we're not just saying, hey, we're solely followers of Noble Drew Ali. We're talking about an imperial lineage. And it doesn't, when I say that, I don't mean that from a position of we're better than everybody else. I'm talking about when you study Moorish nationality, the Moorish Empire, the history of the Moorish Empire in Europe, the history of the Moorish Empire in America. We are talking about a lineage of people who are now called Negro, Black, and Color. But here's where the suffering comes in at, is that there's legal ramifications to those brands. We're not out here doing stuff as so-called Negro, Black, and Colors. We're talking national principles and standing on that. Why they don't support it, our own, in some cases, is beyond me. I mean, it is what it is. They feel like they are more of a Moor because they subscribe to the MSTFA Noble Drew Ali. And I'm not knocking that, but I see that from my point of view as a perspective of a larger Moorish legacy in America. Noble Drew Ali played a part, a major part, might I add, for the masses as a messenger, as a prophet. But he did not start the Moorish nation. The Moorish nation does not belong to Noble Drew Ali. I know that may sound offensive to some, but if we talk in historical accuracy, that's the truth. That is the absolute truth.
The flag alone is 50,000 years
It's
old.
50,000 years old. The man was born in the 1880s. Like, relax. You know what I mean? Hop off for real though. You know, and so when we include our respect for him, it's because it's a part of a longer legacy, and he was accurate.
Yeah.
So don't get us twisted. Whatever y'all thought about us, like, oh, we are just worshiping Noble Drew Ali because Moors started with him and ended with him in 29. We are not on that. Let me be very clear. We respect the legacy. We respect the prophet and his works. But we are not acting as if, you know, Moorish Americans or Moors started when he was born. That is not the truth. We got the Sundry Free Moors Act of the 1790. Just for a minor example, we can give 100 more tonight, and I'm not exaggerating. We can literally go through hundreds of references tonight, but time doesn't allow that. But we can go in and show and prove, fam. Like, yo, Moors did not begin with Noble Drew Ali, and I'm not talking about the Moorish Zionist Church or the Jewish Moors and all of that either. Like, it was before them too. You know what I mean? So like let's be clear when we talk about honoring our mothers and fathers on this earth plane, that by the will of Allah, our days may be lengthened, you know, and it is what it is. It's deeper. It goes past 1913. It goes past 1880s. You know what I mean? And that's what I stand on. I can't speak for everybody else. But if that's what they want to be on, that's fine too. But don't be mad at us because your timeline starts with that. Your timeline start 1913, 1929 to now. That's not where we at with it. But we respect everything up to it all, through it all. You know, and we know that even with his pure intentions, he was sold out by his own. So who are we to think that, you know, those same energies ain't around today? But you're not going to play us and shame us like, you know, we're not Moors because we don't believe what? We not remember what? Like, stop it. Just stop it. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at with it.
And also too with when you were talking about with the intentions, and someone has some type of motive if off the top they're asking you where'd you get your ID from as another Moor. Like if that's the first topic of conversation, there's an issue. Someone's you know gauging you outside of the Holy Covenant, because our interactions are supposed to be nationals, brother, sister. That's what our interaction is supposed to be. As soon as the interaction go into well, you know, it's going to be 5,000, or you know, which body are you part of, and all that, they're not dealing with you on the principles. That should be a sign to know that they're not dealing with you on the principles. Now, they're also, if they're presenting themselves like that at the door, they're also letting you know where they're at. And if they're at a place where the interactions with each other are not based on love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, but it's based on who's your grand sheik and who's your whatever, there's issues, serious issues. And again, the issues didn't start with us, right? We got to say that we're Moorish Science Temple of America because Moors saw what we were doing as prophecy of Noble Drew Ali. Like, we're interested in the Moorish movement. We're from this jurisdiction, and Drew Ali wanted something out here. These Moors are prophecy. Now, we didn't get our charter under some you know, well, we're the supreme whatever, and you're gonna. It wasn't that. the sincerity aspect of this, the side of this that has to do with the principles. Right? People bypass the principles and they want to get involved with everything else. Instead of this being about the principles. The principles are ancient. The principles are before Juali. You think Juali brought love? You think Juali brought the principles to us? Those principles are ancient.
Ancient. Ab antiquo, ancient. Like,
right?
Yeah.
So don't allow them. Don't allow them this arrogant position of thinking they're the whatever for all the Moors. And anybody else that's Moorish doing something, oh no, you can't. You know, you're supposed to be able to fact check for yourself. Right? Again, if you're studying, you're gonna see these traders and sellouts from a mile away. If you're studying. If you're not studying, then it might take a little bit of convincing. Right? It might take a little convincing. It might take their actions to be really off for you to finally say, oh, okay, yeah, you guys really are off. Right? So don't just go for every pump fake. You know. It's a lot more.
Facts. And listen, through experience, I'll say that doesn't mean you're incapable of making a mistake just because you're sincere, right? Like, you know, some things you have to really reanalyze and look at. Like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, this could be improved, or I could do this better, or whatever, you know, and that's on everything, in any subject matter. But yeah, I just know that there's a lot of self-righteousness going on. You know, Moors are acting like Moors of today are the absolute root of the problem, and it's not. The problem has been, if you get to the root of it, people were selling out when Noble Drew Ali was alive. So in these days and times, it's really kind of hard to distinguish or trust a Moorish Science Temple of America. And I'm not saying that to discourage anybody from it. And I'll say it again, from what I remember, my mother never tried to discourage anybody from going to the temple, even while it was like, you know, questionable. They're like, yo, go see for yourself what it is, because you man knows not by being told. You know this, now go see what it's like for yourself. And some people was shocked beyond belief, like, yo, they singing hymns and now they're substituting Jesus or Noble Drew Ali with Jesus' name. That's what's going on in there. Like in some temples, like y'all seen it. It was on the net, you know what I mean? And I'm not judging, because the divine side or a medicine sing is nothing wrong with that, you know, for the uplifting of spirits. But it's like, yo, are we gonna get to these principles or not? Is what if we doing feel goodism, or are we getting to the principles? You know, some people well-rounded all, but I'm just saying, you know, nah, they're not putting that on us. Like, the whole issue with Moors is, you know, RV Bay came along or something. That's not the case. It's just not the situation, you know? And it's just sad because, again, they did the same thing to Yahshua. The people that you come to help, they will try to stone you, you know? And then you got to question, yo, am I really placing my love in the right place? Like, do I need to? I'm with the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, but you know, some of these people, I don't know. It don't feel it don't feel like it's all love. It feel like some of these people got hatred, and all you was trying to do was uplift them with the truth, you know. And it's cool to oppose or have an opposing view. of what the truth is, but we could talk about that too and get to the root of the truth. But you know, some people, they just fixed on being the center of attention, meaning if it's not coming from them and their organization, it can't be legit, right? Because they're prime ministers, because they're consulates. None of this has anything to do with American law. And yes, we are Americans. Y'all know what that word means, right? Any one of the various copper complexion natives found on the continent by Europeans, meaning the original application of the word. I didn't make this up, right? That's in the Webster's Unabridged Dictionary. Like, this is basic research. Talk about how to study, like, you know that. So if you know that, and we're indigenous here, right? I mean, I don't know. We could segue into that article. I don't know if you had that one, the Africa's contribution to America, right? We've been here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have been here. So yeah, more I just look at it and I'm like, when we deal with American law, you know what I mean? Like, you really get back to nature. You're really getting back to nature, and that's really what it is, you know, in the science of human life. So I travel highways and byways. I don't see many more science temples out there. I'm not saying they don't exist, but for the most part, they exist in the major cities, right? Which is great. But it's like, are they really doing what the Prophet's work really is? Like, are they really on the Prophet's program? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Yeah, you got it. Let's go. Yeah. My brethren. Let me pull that up too. Yeah, because this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? It gets really crazy. Hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna pull it up too, so I'll read that one because we got a lot we could get into, you know. I don't know if you could blow it up on the left column. On the left column, again, this is a New York Times article, so let me get this right real quick myself. Let's see. Yeah, all right, so you got it, right? So I'm just saying, as far as our relationship here, you know, this is general knowledge. Again, this is an article from the New York Times. I think we're going to dive into a few of them tonight. But Africa's part in America, in the discovery of America, let's just say that, from what they published, right? Now hold on, I'm gonna pull it up real quick. I'm gonna read it right off the thing, but let me pull it up too, so I'm right there. One second, Morris. Pardon me, y'all. All right. So anyway, it says, you know, again, this is an article from the New York Times. It says, when Columbus arrived in America in 1492, he had been preceded by, hold up. Damn. Yeah, excuse me. He had been preceded by so-called Negroes who crossed the Atlantic from the northwest coast of Africa. How long before Columbus these so-called Negroes landed cannot be stated definitely, but it was long enough to give them time to influence American civilization to a greater degree than has hitherto been suspected. For it was they who introduced various edible plants, tobacco, cotton, shell money, and the beliefs and rites known as fetishism. Such is the making proposition put forward by Professor Weiner in in what promises to be, when completed, a truly monumental piece of research. So all these things they be giving credit to for so-called Indians, they got it from Moors, right? They saying Moors brought the tobacco, certain edible plants that y'all still use today, right? And I'm not gassing it. I am not gassing it at all. You know what I mean? Hold up. Damn, I'm still trying to pull it. Okay, I got it now. I can read this freely too, more. I can read it freely too now. All right. So let me get this back. So it says that Moors, or they specifically mention Moors later in this article, right? Pardon me, stay with me, y'all. They specifically mention Moors in this article later, but they speak about even before Columbus came, that so-called Negroes from Northwest Africa were already here. This is in the article of the New York Times. Hold up. And this was October 22nd, 1922, that this was published. And we're not going to go through this one all because it's so long, but we got a few more to go through, right? So again, this is over 100 years ago. We didn't make this up. 1922, Noble Drew Ali was still alive and on the scene.
Right, and think and put this in perspective, like when we see certain things and it shows Moors or shows a fez on something or talks about Moors or whatever in our time. Look at this the same way as that. Moors back then, 1922, picking up New York Times to go study, go read, and they're reading about this. And then how is this going to make them connect with what Noble Drew Ali is doing? Remember, in 1920, same time, they're reading about stuff that he's talking about in New York Times. Back then,
no Instagram, no Facebook, no YouTube. This was that back then. This is what everybody was tapping into to get the word. Right? So yeah, you know what I mean? This is a historical piece because it's over 100 years old, and they talking about things at that time that happened centuries ago. And here we are a century later, and you know, people still don't get this thing. I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like I don't get it. But I will say that the so-called Indians, right? So-called, as they say, hold on, let me bring this back. It was those Africans who, so-called Africans, let me say that. So the Moors who were crossing the Great Atlantic Ocean, right? They were coming with ideas and concepts as well. They weren't just coming here to leech off the land. Like, you know, this was their other home. This was their home before the great earthquake that caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. Can you imagine that? The earth split your home up, right? Because of an earthquake, and you still find a way back to your other side of your estate over the rough, choppy waters and all of that. You still make it back home. That's amazing to me. Like, yo, even after the earthquake, the people over there was like, I gotta find a way back home. I'll float on this boat and get back over there. What? Are you kidding me? That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it says, but it was long enough to give them time to influence American civilization to a greater degree than has hitherto been suspected. For it was they who introduced various edible plants, tobacco, cotton, shell money, and beliefs and rites known as fetishism. So listen, before Columbus came, the Moors, or what people would call today people who come from Africa, was traversing over to America, bringing cotton, tobacco, shell money, right? And so when you look at these plantations again, it's like, yo, you know, I said it before in a couple of classes ago, a couple sessions ago, like I think that cotton, it's really not, it really shouldn't be associated with slavery in the sense of what it really came from, right? Like, because if this is a valuable crop, right? Like Haynes and them make millions of notes off of selling you white t-shirts and underwear and socks and all of that to the present day. But they did not invent that industry. That's absolutely Moorish, right? And it's tied into indigenous culture because we're really the same people on both sides of the Atlantic. right? So again, this is what they saying that so-called Africans brought with them. People say, well, the Indians, they was always smoking the peace pipe and tobacco. Really think so? I mean, that's another $1 billion industry. I'm not saying it's the best one, but it's $1 billion industry. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so anyway, moving on. It says in the first volume published over 2 years ago and reviewed in these columns on August 29th, 1920, Professor Weiner explained that while working on a comparative grammar of the American languages, he was confronted with a number of words which he at first regarded as having been introduced from Europe after the discovery of America. But when he came to investigate them more fully, he found that they were in reality corruptions or adaptations of words used by the multitudinous so-called Negro races of Africa. Right. So again, I know we're not Negro, black, and colored. This is the New York Times. I'm not saying it's the gospel. We're just looking at a historical record. Let's just keep that in perspective and refining with our knowledge, wisdom, and understanding what they're actually saying. Right. So it says, particularly by the Mandingos and other Mando tribes who had previously absorbed these words from the Arabs. The proof of Professor Weiner's contention thus rests largely on philological evidence which undoubtedly must be given full weight in view of his remarkable knowledge and grasp of linguistic sciences. The case, however, relies on a great deal more than philology. Professor Weiner has also gone to archaeology, history, and botanical science for evidence that European and so-called Negro traders came to America decades before 1492, and that it was through them that the Indians were introduced to tobacco, cotton, and shell money. All right. So I'm just saying, depending on how you take that, what you look at that as, when they say Europeans and so-called Negroes, we do know that Moors are the original people of Europe too. So I mean, it's always going to be levels to that conversation. But still in all, like, this is what they're saying, right? So when you see on today's cigarettes, they got the American spirits, right? They're like the organic cigarettes. It's nothing but tobacco and water, no nicotine, no chemicals, no none of that. It's just tobacco, water, in the rolling paper, right? Like, understand, they got the image of the Moor and all of that, the native or indigenous, but like, this literally came from Moors, that whole growing science and these different plants. And I want to explain, I'm not promoting anybody smoke. Tobacco itself, the plant, has other healing properties. It wasn't always just about smoking, though that could, temporarily relax nerves and all of this. But the other aspects of, like, pulling venom out of a bee sting and things like that, it had its purpose of healing. Don't just look at it one way, like, oh, tobacco is bad for you because you die if you smoke it. Like, that's not all it was used for, right? Like, it was ancient medicine to draw things out. So again, I think that that's to the point that everything has its duality or polarity. So the way they present it may be one way, but it has other things and attributes to it. But I digress and continue reading. It says, it is with these articles that the record volume now deals in detail. A third volume will discuss the question of fetishism and the extraordinary extent to which the Indian medicine man owes his evolution to the African medicine man, who in turn derived his wisdom from the popular medical science and religion of the Arabs. Pardon me, y'all. I'm not trying to get lost in terms, but refining what they're saying. for so-called Indians, right? People have been saying, "Oh, we're not Moors, we're Indians," and there was Indian medicine men and all of this. You know, they got the science and the game from Moors across the Great Atlantic that were also once here before the land split. I just hope y'all do know that. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's not just my own words. It's been proven on many levels, but here you go again with a historical article, 1922, over 100 years ago. This is what they were saying in the New York Times, right? So the so-called and also if the Indian, so-called Indian, the so-called Indian, and I'm going to emphasize the so-called Indian, right? If he was getting that from Oriental philosophies, which are really still their own, right? What else did they get? And why are we here today? And you got people talking about we're not Moors, we're Indians, we're Ninji, we're everything but related to our global lineage. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? I don't get it.
And they're also gonna tie themselves to the whole Indian myth, right? Just like they attach themselves to the slave myth. But when you go back and you check as far as this myth of the Indians, everybody knows that it goes back to the Olmecs. And then everybody who's, playing the black scholar or whatever, they're always going to make that reference of the Olmecs are the Africans that brought all the stuff over here without tying in all this is one landmass. They weren't going anywhere like that. It wasn't like that. These are the founders of civilizations. They can't cross the Atlantic Ocean. They could see Sirius A and Sirius B, but they can't get across the ocean. Stop it.
Facts.
Right? You can build pyramids and all that stuff, but they can't get across the ocean. Right? So and then that's when now you go check and you see why they gave Ivan Van Sertima hell they came before Columbus and all that.
Right. I wanted to say that's exactly what this article reminded me of. They came before Columbus. Right? And I know we was here before they even came before Columbus came. Right? Like, we always been here. I know this, but I'm just saying for general history and reference, the perspective, right? It's like, yo, hold up. Even after the Great Atlantic Earthquake happened, right? After the earthquake that caused the Great Atlantic Ocean, right? Yeah, they still was coming here, and that was way before Columbus came here. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, let's cut it out. You know what I mean? Like, as far as people trying to put stigma on Moors on many levels, like, I mean, they will say Moors are from Morocco, they're not from America, this, that, and the third, and we're the Muskegee, and we're the Lenape, and we're the whatever, Cherokee, whatever, right? And they get caught up on these tribal titles. But when you do the history of the place, the soil, the geography, the evidence is already out that Africa was attached to North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and many other places. And when I say Africa, I mean from the modern map. And while we're here, it's a thing right now where what they call Africa on the modern map right now is fighting to get it recognized for what it really is, because they're like, yo, they depict what they call Africa so small on the map when it's way bigger, is what they're saying from Africa. It's a thing right now. Like, they're trying to get it shown on the modern map that Africa is way bigger than it has been depicted on the map. That is a real thing right now. So again, we in the era of people map changing and all of that, and there may be some accuracy to it. But I'm just saying, for historical purposes, I mean, we could, I'll read a little bit more because it is a part where they specifically mention Moors in this article. And I don't want to drag it out, but I guess when we get to that part, we could get off this and you know, get back into some other things and other articles. But it says the course, however, relies on a great deal more than philology. Oh, hold on. No. I already read that. Okay.
For the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I got it. Don't worry. For the moment, then, we are asked to consider the origins of tobacco and smoking and the cultivation of cotton and the use of shell money among the Indians for the fight they throw upon the pre-Columbian America. Very few of us, as we nowadays puff our pipes and cigars, are aware that smoking originated for medicinal purposes as far back, at least as the times of ancient Greek medicine. As Professor Weiner tells us, a large number of substances, especially, what's that?
Henbane
And bitumen were employed in fumigation and taken through the mouth, sometimes through the nose, for certain diseases, especially cataract. That's cataracts?
Yeah, they say catarrh, but I believe that is the early form of where cataracts come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Toothache and pulmonary troubles. This fumigation took place through a funnel, which very much resembles a modern pipe, but by its knob-like end at the bottom of the bowl show its derivation from the distilling cup of the alchemist's retort. The large number of pipes found in Roman and early medieval graves show by the lids on the bowls that the distilling cap.
Yes, that's what it says.
The distilling cap was employed as today by inverted its position on the alchemist's retort. Fumigation was also in vogue among the Persians and Syrians, but they used a different substance. From the Arabic sources, it is clear that this was tobacco, obviously the tobacco of our day. In Africa, the Arabic physicians used another plant of the same kind. These plants were unquestionably the Nicotano tabacum and Nicotiana rustica, the two principal kinds of tobacco now used for smoking. Among the Negroes, the narcotic quality of tobacco also led to the sacerdotal use, and it was chiefly with the significance that tobacco found its way from Africa to America at a period which Professor Weiner says was half a century and possibly a century before Columbus. As a vice or a pleasure, smoking was in America for a long time, and everyone confined at first to caciques, native chiefs, and the rich, and in North America, tobacco could be obtained only at a great cost, which is crazy. One of the arguments that tobacco smoking was not a habit among the Indians is the fact that although it is recorded among Indians and Negroes from the beginning of the 16th century, nearly 100 years passed before smoking became universal among the Indians and Europeans. It was the Negro slaves of the white planters who knew how to raise tobacco and who were encouraged to do so for the purpose of its being used for barter with the Indians. If the tobacco habit had been native to the Indians, that it seems would hardly have been necessary. Europe did not become acquainted with tobacco until it was imported in 1557. Nicot, who was French ambassador to Portugal in 1559 to 1561, and whose name has been perpetuated in the botanical term for the genus of tobacco tobacco plants, learned of the medicinal uses of smoking while at Lisbon. He specifically stated that the Moors, that is, the Arabs or Mohammedan Negroes, employed tobacco to cure various ailments. This Professor Weiner declares once more confirms the fact that although tobacco was re-imported from Africa, it had its origin in Arabic medicine.
And medicine is universal. So yeah, so while maybe, what they call Arabs, who we know are Moors, right, Muslims, etc., figured that out, it wasn't like it was for selfish reasons. It was something at that time that was used to present to the masses as a healing substance that came from the earth. It wasn't used solely for one purpose, right? So it had healing aspects. Again, I'm sure, I know if anybody, most people do have people who live in the South, come from the South, and they will tell you if you get stung by a bee, a yellow jacket, whatever, put some tobacco at the point of the sting and it will draw out the venom. They still do that to this very day. And they might not even be smokers, but they use it for a certain purpose. So I'm just saying everything has a purpose. No matter if they labeling it, oh, that's not good for you. This is not that. This is not this. It should, even back to the point, as we as a people, oh, these Moors over here are no good. Everybody has their purpose, man. Everything has its purpose. So find what that is, and there may be healing in that. And that's really what I wanted to say, because again, this is 1922 and they're talking about Moors in the New York Times, right? And that, to me, that's remarkable. That is not something to sneeze at. That is a historical document. These people were on it back then. And again, Noble Drew Ali was alive when this was going on. You know what I mean? So if he's in so-called Newark, New Jersey, you think he's not getting copies of the New York Times at that time? Y'all are bugging. You know what I'm saying? Like these were conversations for real, right? And it wasn't just based off of, well, if you don't come sign up for the temple, you're not really a Moor. People knew. Like, we're talking about ancient people who've been coming back and forth, right? And so again, I don't want to diminish any Moors in that regard. What I'm saying is, as we hear today, 2025, you got Moors who are playing holier than thou, and none of us got it right because this Moor said that, and we're supposed to be doing this and that and the third. And it's just like, yo, as a people, like, we have the right to self-determination, and there is a baked in primal knowing of right and wrong, especially if you claim to be conscious, right? You know the difference between right and wrong. And so that's for you to decide, you know what I mean? But just knowing the true history, it helps a lot. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, some of this stuff is beyond belief how much they was talking about Moors. I almost forgot what sent me down this, because I know people was talking crazy about Moors and this Moor it's unauthorized. Well, these Moors who came before Columbus and all them, I just want to know, and I know it's a rhetorical question, but for the record, were they authorized by the Moorish Science Temple of America? I'm not trying to take a shot at the Moorish Science Temple of America, but based off of what you was telling me and what I've seen and heard, some more speaking righteous, like, I have to ask these questions based off the facts. This was topic of conversation 1922. We could go back further than this, but did they that came here on the boats, right? Like you said, built pyramids, all of these things, right? When we talk about no one could change man from his descent nature, did these people of our descent nature, did they all get permission, let's say centuries before Columbus came, from the MST of A? Or do we have the right to be ourselves regardless. What are we really doing? What's really going on? Like what's up? Like why is it the religious bigoted aspect? I don't get it. But I respect it because I respect Moorish legacy. I don't care if it's about Moors were the ones who farmed and raised tobacco, right? I don't care if it's whatever, you know what I mean? If it's Noble Drew Ali, I just respect the Moorish lineage, you know, and the history and the legacy from the empire to now. Like it just is what it is. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm not going to I'm not going to let somebody make me feel like I'm not who our ancestors were because they are a member of any organization, whether it be the temple, mosque, church, whatever, right? I could find Moors in any of that. So, you know, and I'm not saying I'm better or holier than now, but yeah, I just, you know, this is what I mean by I don't feel these people. I don't vibe with their perspective about who we are because again, that lineage who did these things, and we really got a lot more to get into, but they didn't have to get permission from no organization to be themselves. Maybe from their people, like when they say, you know, the ancient Moabites, Canaanites got permissions from the old pharaohs of Egypt. That's still a people that was holding the title, not just a religious organization. So it's a difference. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I feel about it. Like it ain't like they went to church and asked their pastor, yo, can we go to Alaska, for example, or Atlanta, or what they call today Nebraska or so-called California, right? No, that wasn't what was going on. They didn't do that. They just did what they did, you know. Now, yes, there was, because Egypt is the capital of the Dominion of Amexem, there's certain permissions and things like when you're talking imperial and adventure and exploration, yeah, you kind of do got to get permission for certain things to pass through certain lands and territories and sacred grounds and all of that. But, you know, they wasn't just asking, you know, one local pastor if they could go do what they wanted to do. That's not what was happening then, and I don't see why it should be happening now. You know what I mean? Unless it's a personal decision. But if that's the case, that's on you, you know? We don't all have to be circumscribed to that. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. You know. Any thoughts on that, more?
Yo, you're right and exact, more. What I was actually thinking about was since we were talking about the connection to Africa, that other article, the 1800 one.
Oh, which one? Is it
the Delaware one?
Oh, indeed. We could go there too. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do that. Let's definitely
since we're on that theme of the African and American connection idea.
Yeah, no doubt. And I do want to say we did discuss this on my mother's session, RV Bay go-to class. If y'all want to get views at exclusive content on many levels, be sure to check that out when you get a chance, y'all. If you haven't, you know, sign up or join RV Bay go-to class. But yes, this is another article from the New York Times, and the date is important, right? July 26, 1895. Might I add, this is before the Moorish Science Temple of America was established. And again, my intention is not to be divisive, but to put in perspective for those who are saying Moors, RV Day and them are not Moors because they're not a part of the temple. Moors have been Moors before the temple existed. And please, let's not get it twisted. Like let's keep it how it's supposed to be, right? So we as a people, being a people and a nation, did not get birthed by Noble Drew Ali. And this is no disrespect. I can't emphasize it enough. But the perspectives are the perspectives. And this is how I see it based off the facts that I do have and know. and just
Well,
common
it's
sense.
more, one question too for them too. Which temple did Noble Drew Ali go to be a Moor?
Right now, we got to start getting into American history, right? Because, of course, that's a rhetorical question. But if you go to the Library of Congress, which is a Moorish building by very definition, the architecture, all of it is Moorish. The Ali Greek prints on the walls and all the different design, the whole building is Moorish, right? Arches everywhere, Moorish building, right? It'll tell you in there that it's only one temple in the universe, and that is the body of man. So he created a reflection of himself for the masses to come to. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, he had to go within to realize that this is needed. And some of the ideas he pulled from inside of himself, he got from other Moors, which we're going to get into right now. This article will show it. I didn't make this up. And I'm not saying this is the be all end all, but like Moore's been here before that. So when they say again to the point, oh, the Moore's RV Bay publications, they're not authorized. Like, who are you talking to? Who you think you are? Noble Drew Ali came to so-called New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey. You think that was by happenstance that he chose a place like this to establish the first temple? I don't know where these people get the gall, the unmitigated gall and the nerve to say we're not that. You know what I mean? And so, but let's let the facts speak for itself. So-called Moors, farmers of Delaware. Now, mind you, present day, they call the indigenous people, like what they say are Lenape, they call them Delawares, right? Delaware Indians, etc., etc. But meantime, the people of the region, and they consider that like the Delaware Valley, they consider New Jersey, you know, parts of what they consider Pennsylvania. And it's interesting. I didn't know this until I went up there. The Delaware River goes all the way up into the Catskill Mountains too, right? So we're talking about the Algonquian, if you will, indigenous people of the region. But we were calling ourselves Moors. That is a fact. So it says so-called Moors, farmers of Delaware, a race of mixed Indian and African blood, from the Milford, Delaware Herald. It says there has been much speculation about the so-called Moors living in Kent and Sussex County, Delaware. These people are usually swarthy, which we know swarthy is German for so-called black or dark skin, right? So let's just keep that clear. And again, while we here, William Penn said it himself that the so-called Lenape indigenous people of that region looks like Egyptians, just like. He thought these are the same people. So it says these people are usually swarthy, black-haired, and black complexion. This is not, and black-eyed, though sometimes of a fair complexion. They are mostly farmers. They have their own schools, distinct from the general public school system. And I want to pause there because this is what Noble Drew Ali was telling the temples to do. If y'all think we so much not legit, if every temple must have a school, every, not one, not some, not a few, every temple must have a school. Where are the Moorish schools at now? If we're going to talk about who's legit, authorized, fraud, and all of this, where's all that at? Because I think that a lot of that will clear up the confusion from pre-K to 12th grade, right? Like kindergarten, first, second, third, all the way up. If we still had that, I don't think we would be confused. But unfortunately, some of us are not finding out about this, or from my era, didn't find out about it until, you know, our coming of age of puberty, and then high school and post high school, taking it serious to study more, right? Like but like we grew up around it, but then we still had to do our own studies, and then we get to a degree where we realize how important study is, right? But I'm just saying, if this was the case, like, and every temple had a school everywhere across America, right? Then wouldn't that have eliminated much of the confusion? I know there was schools in so-called New Jersey, right? But it didn't have the biggest turnout. Why was that? Why was that? Why was it that the Moorish schools were struggling? What happened? What happened to the support? That's another thing. And I'm not talking, and again, no shot, no shade, but I ain't talking like the Umar Johnson type support of, donate to fund someone's whole individual lifestyle and all of that. No, I'm just saying, like, there was a reason Noble Drew Ali was saying this, and it's a reason that certain things may not work out for people when they don't respect the ideology of where these important concepts come from. Moors were already doing that. This is 1895. But I digress because I'm going on a little bit too much there. So it says, they are mostly farmers, speaking about Moors. They have their own schools, distinct from the general public school system, and they associate neither with whites nor with blacks. And I said this before, and I'll say this again. I when I read that in this New York Times article, being a Moor who has already read Noble Drew Ali's lessons, I know exactly what they mean when they say they associated neither with the whites or the blacks. They wasn't talking about they didn't like these people. They knew that white and black are not nationalities and don't associate us with those brands. That's what they were really saying. That they was not Negro, black, colored, white, or none of that. Because even if, let's say you had some Moors in the tribe that were of the Rufus albinis, complexion, that were what people call today ginger, because they're light skin, red head, freckles all on the face. They still Moors, right? So yeah, maybe Moors did have, and not even maybe, it's a fact. Moors had people of lighter olive complexions, because that's a real thing. Like, you know what I mean? You see the Moors with the freckles on the face and the orange, what some people call ginger hair and all of that, right? Like, from a phenotype perspective, we already know.
Like El Haj?
Right. Come on. And even lighter than him in some cases. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I mean? That's really what it is. They still are of Moorish blood. They mother be dark skinned, their father be dark skinned, but they just come out light, red hair, freckles all on the face. I can't explain it. It's not my position to, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? So yeah, when they say they were of different complexions, that's not unimaginable. We still see it today. You know what I'm saying? We still see it today. And so yeah, so it says when they say, they they did not associate neither with whites or with blacks. I know, being a Moor, and with, again, much respect to Noble Drew Ali's lessons, they were saying in 1895 when Noble Drew Ali came to tell the masses in 1913, we are not Negro, coloreds, and blacks. And don't come around us with that y'all white game, right? Like, people have nationalities. So that's what they was really saying from my perspective, right? It says, one theory has been that they are of the Moorish race and that their ancestors were Spanish Moors wrecked on the coast more than a century ago. Another tradition represents them as descendants of the Nanticoke Indians. Again, these are not my own words. This is an article in the New York Times. It says, George P. Fisher, a lawyer, long practicing in Delaware.
Pardon the interjection, Mark.
Yeah,
before
ahead,
you go on too, keep in mind too that Spanish Moors, they could be speaking of Latin speaking Moors, because remember, Spanish is Ferdinand and Isabella. That's not Moors,
right?
Well, Moorish race, you're talking about Moors, the swarthy, dark skin, and all that stuff. And then when they say Spanish Moors, they could be talking about Latin-speaking Moors, not Moors from Spain, because Moors are not from Spain.
That's
So
true.
when you start talking Spanish, you're talking about Ferdinand and Isabella. You're not talking about, right?
Yo, that's true too. And that's why I appreciate you, man, because that's perspective, right? And that's why we having these bills, looking at these documents for the record. Because what you're saying, it could also be absolutely true in this context. Because I'm reading through the lines, I'm reading between the lines. When they say they didn't associate with white or black, I know that means they was not playing the color code game.
Right.
1895. That's what that really means. Because I don't know a Moor today who'll be like, I don't rock with black people or white people. I know Moors who'll be like, yo, we're not black, Negro colored, and the Europeans is not white. They are of Italian descent, German descent, Polish descent, English descent, right? That's the context of what they're saying when they're saying we're not black and we don't rock with the brand name that the colonists gave us, and they're not white. We don't rock with the belief that they're that either. Because according to Noble Drew Ali, he said white means purity, purity means God, and God means ruler of the land. So they definitely was of the persuasion that the Europeans were not that. And I'm sure it was much more in depth, right? But yeah, that was a profound perspective on that, because you're right. They could, in that sense, be talking about the speaking type of people, right? Spanish speakers. Not, from the region. Yeah. But it goes on to say, and this is for this next part is for all those Moors who say Moors never won a case. There's no historical record of it. Where is it at? This is for y'all. Okay? All right, we good. It says George P. Fisher, a lawyer long practicing in Delaware, writes to present what he regards as satisfactory evidence as to the origin of these people. He has been acquainted with them all his life. Nope Norwood, a giant of the tribe, erect and black-haired at 75, he knew from childhood. When Mr. Fisher became Attorney General of the state, he was called upon to prosecute Levin Sockham, one of the race, speaking about Moors, right? Interjection, resuming, for selling ammunition to Isaiah Harmon of the same race. The indictment having been found under a statute of Delaware, making it a misdemeanor to sell arms or ammunitions to any Negro or mulatto. Harmon was a man of 20 years with excellent Caucasian features, dark chestnut hair, rosy cheeks, and hazel eyes. Mr. Fisher thought him the handsomest man in the courtroom. Pause. That is their words, not my own. This is what they say he thought of this Moor, or with the light olive features or Caucasian features, whatever. It says Lydia Clark, a kinswoman of Harmon, testified for the state that according to a family tradition, some years before the Revolutionary War broke out, when she was a little girl, their ancestress, a woman of Irish birth, owning and cultivating a farm in the Indian River 100, Sussex. My fault. Can you scroll that down? I'm reading it off what you got up. More. If not, I don't know if you had to step away, but I got you. If you don't have it up, I'll finish. Hold up. Let me get that right. Pardon me, y'all. Pardon me. Okay. So it says Lydia Clark, a kinswoman of Harmon, testified for the state that according to a family tradition, some years before the Revolutionary War broke out, when she was a little girl, their ancestress, a woman of Irish birth, owning and cultivating a farm in the Indian River 100, Sussex County, a few miles from Lewis, bought a slaver that was driven into Lewis Creek, a Negro slave who professed to be a chief of one of the Congo tribes. The woman, whose name was Regua, shortly after married her slave and their children, not being allowed to associate with the whites, intermarried with the remnant of the Nanticoke Indians, then still living in Sussex County. The witness, a very old woman, looked like an so-called Indian of pure blood. These people for several generations were confined principally to the southeastern part of Sussex County, but have since gone into Kent County and even northward into Newcastle County. They have always refused to associate with the colored people. And more, that goes back again to the point. It's not that I know that that's not because they didn't associate with people. They were disassociating from those brands of Negro, Black, and colored. It wasn't necessarily the people. I know that that's what that was. In 1895, did Noble Drew Ali come 1913 with the same message? It's not that far off. You know what I mean? That's what, 18 years later? Right? And so I'm just saying, like, yeah, you know, like this had to be the wave for the indigenous people back then. And then he come with the same message in the sense of, we're not Negro, Black, and colored. White doesn't mean European, etc. White is purity. You know what I mean? The color code game is what they were disdaining from back then. And I find that to be profound, that was going on in 1895. And again, we did acknowledge this on RV Bay Go-To class that she does do every Wednesday. Y'all could tap into that digitally. But again, it's nothing wrong with revisiting this here, because when they talk about our authority and you know, Moors, those Moors aren't authorized. Y'all don't own us. And you know what I'm saying? I just wanted to re-emphasize that. I don't care what temple you belong to. I respect it, but you don't own being a Moor. It's not you don't have the authority. Your authority does not override the great God of the universe. And we as a people aren't playing with you because you what? Like I don't know more. I just know that none of them have the right to tell us who we are and are not, and what our lineage is and has been. Like it's supposed to be stopped and checked and balanced by them. They are insane for thinking that. That's how I feel about it more. Pardon me, I didn't mean to digress.
No, you're straight.
I'm just trying to show like we Moors are a people, not just a religious organization. Like it's not just a choice to subscribe to. We've been here. It didn't start with Noble Drew Ali. The message for the masses did, but the people didn't. This is 1895. They're telling you about Moors who weren't associating with Negro, with Black, colored, white brands and things like that. So let's not get this twisted. You know what I mean? Again, Sundry Free Moors, 1790, saying the same thing. We're not Negroes, right? So
and think about the profoundness of this too. That Noble Drew Ali is even living by his own teachings, because if this is pre him and he's telling us we're not Negro, Black, colored, then he's living going back to the mind of the foremothers and forefathers.
That part.
He's living that for you to see the example of him. But again, you know, you would have to read, study, or whatever to know that even back then they didn't want to be under the brands. You know, like we're saying, how many of the so-called Black whoever's don't acknowledge Sundry Free Moors for Black History Month, when they're probably some of the most heaviest people when you're talking about liberation of our people and all that stuff, and honoring something that our people have done. Sundry Free Moors saying that they're not under the Negro Acts isn't a big deal. Isn't it the same slavery stuff that they're saying they're trying to get out of, that the Sundry Free Moors got out of by saying who they are and not being the brands? Just like Drew Ali said later, don't be the brands. Just like Drew Ali had the mother in the arms on the Rock of Salvation, and then you go see Montezuma. They have the same stuff with him. So, you know, it's not some far-fetched thing. Like we're saying, this is a few years later. And Noble Drew Ali came with the same message, right? Just like he was telling the Moors, I bring the truth. The same message of Jesus, Buddha, Confucius, and all the rest of them, which is the truth. That's what I have for you too. Right? Where do you get to? Oh, you're at colored. You've got colored people. Although chiefly engaged in farming, they have managed to pick up sufficient mechanical skill to build their own houses. Right? For all the labor Moors out there who that's what they do right now. Build stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Build houses, put up walls, whatever it is that they do.
And may I add, for all of those saying that Moors don't have anything to do with masonry, that is masonry.
Yeah.
Actually building. I just wanted to add that in.
Islam.
Facts. And I'm not talking about go get initiated in the lodge. I'm saying all that must too. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Fisher says that they are swiftly industrious, frugal, and law-abiding. He has known of but 2 instances where one of the race was brought into court for a violation of law. One case was that of Stockham, and the other a man charged with attempted murder but acquitted.
And I'm not trying to celebrate it, but I'm just saying, for all those saying, yo, Moor never be the case. We got the sundry free Moors, we got these Moors of Delaware, right? And that's some crazy type of case to be fighting, but it
if
is
the glove doesn't fit.
yeah, exactly. That part. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, don't believe the hype. Do your studies. You gotta study, man, because people get on the internet and say anything and they don't do the research. And you know what I mean? It's there. You might find the research by happenstance, you know. But I'm just saying that to say, like, don't get caught up in the naysayers' narrative, in the propaganda. Because yes, indeed, we've been, you know, we've been hit with the slander campaign. That's a fact. That's a fact. The lies that are heaped upon us annually. Southern Poverty Law Center had a lot of these people gassed, believing the lies and the naysaying from old Southern, you know, losers of the Civil War and whatnot, you know, trying to rewrite history and all of this. They've been bitter, and y'all believe in them. You know what I mean? So that's you know, may Allah be with y'all. You know, that's all I can say on that. But yeah, more. I mean, that article was so telling. It was short, it was sweet, it was to the point, and like, yo, Moors, there is records of it. You know what I mean? I hope nobody ever has to do that and fight a case like that, you know, or even be in the position accused falsely or whatever. But you know, I'm just saying, the beginning and the end of the day, these records do exist. You know what I mean? Moore's been spanking cases in the 1800s. You know, the courts are bound judicially to know that there's no such thing as a colored person. They're bound judicially to know these things. So when Moores is coming through saying we're not crayon colors, we're not Negro, black, or colored, you know what I'm saying? Understand, like, we're saying that on a lawful and legal level. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, don't be mad at we the people, right? Because the nation is the nation, you know? And so, again, I'm not bitter at nobody. I'm just saying, putting it in perspective, I don't understand it. So the naysayers, specifically to the point you were mentioning about, oh, those Moors aren't authorized. Who do we need? Who do we got to go see to get authority to be ourselves?
Yeah.
What, Supreme Grand Council? Is it who? We got to ask them to be ourselves. That's what we doing. I gotta go ask the Grand Sheik to be myself. I can't just be myself.
Be yourself. You need
I
permission.
gotta go ask the pastor, the imam, to be myself. I can't. That's where we at. That's what we doing. I'm a Moor, and I respect the legacy from now, Noble Drew Ali, and backwards through the ages, good, bad, and different. I understand my portion. Allah has given me my portion of understanding, and the gifts of understanding are the treasures of Allah. I'm cool with my treasure chest. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
all right. You know what I mean? I don't know what type of jaded jewels y'all got. You know what I'm saying? What is it? Flawed jewels and treasures and all that. That's on y'all.
The pebbles.
Yeah, at the bottom of the stream. You know what I mean? They hold up. That type of work. Nasty work they doing. Nasty. But yeah, I just, I will always keep that in perspective. I felt like there's something that needed to be put back in perspective tonight. Is that, listen, we are a people. It's no slight to Noble Drew Ali, but he didn't make us. You know what I mean? And Moors didn't come from Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali recognized the importance of keeping our Moorish legacy alive. Why can't we honor him for that? Why can't?
Especially since nobody else was doing it.
At that time, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they were being that. They weren't getting on the bullhorn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Noble Drew Ali decided to step out on the bullhorn. He didn't make it up. He already came from a cloth of people who was on it like that. And realized that the rest of us needed to be on it like that, because they obviously knew there was no such thing as black or white or color. They were, those Moors in that article specifically were noted as not associating with that or those brands. And I know it wasn't because they had hatred to any people. They just knew that those brands are not accurate. That's a fact. So yeah, more like that, I mean, like, that's how I feel about it. Like, oh man, if we got a lot, you want to go through some more?
We can hit a couple more, yo. We got some more up here. There was any that stood out from the other email? I know you were talking about the Ben Franklin.
Oh, you know what? Let's just get it over with, right? Because we did do the last time we did a session, it was about BMF and the Great Seal, right?
Yeah.
And also, from what you was telling me about this naysayer, they were saying that the Great Seal, Harvey Bay, etc., are invalid.
Yeah.
Not authorized. Right. So let's just get into the Great Seal article real quick, because I find it profound with Benjamin Franklin. Y'all, what they say, it's all about the Benjamins, right? Y'all love the $100 bill. I love the $1 bill. I mean, for the lesson that it has about the Great Seal. You know what I mean? So I know man make the money, money never makes the man, but I find a valuable lesson with the pyramid on that logo. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is another article. Yeah, let's first of all, let's go to the date. What date is it? I know the date is at the bottom, but again, this is New York Times, right? Okay, so what is it?
1909.
1909.
June 20th, 1909.
June 20th, 1909. You're talking about an article about the Great Seal in the New York Times. Crazy work. Crazy work. Hold up. I'm gonna pull it up on my computer too, so I can read it freely. So we'll start here, right? All right. So the Great Seal down in Washington, Mr. Gallard Hunt, chief of the Division of Manuscripts, has just completed a historical sketch of the Great Seal of the United States. The sketch telling of the various stages of development through which the seal went before the one now in use was finally adopted. When the Continental Congress made the obverse of the Great Seal the national arms it intended that the device should pass into common use among the people, right? This is the Continental Congress, not the United States Congress. What is the difference? The United States is not a continent. North America is a continent. Please be not confused. Know your geography. So when the Continental Congress was in effect, that was a total different jurisdiction than what they call today the United States Congress. And for the simple fact, United States is not a continent. I don't care what nobody telling you. I don't care what more say they're a citizen of the USA. The US is not a continent. It's just not. So when the Continental Congress made the obverse of the Great Seal, the national arms, it intended that the device should pass into common use among the people, as the flag had done. And like the flag, the arms at first met with general approval, which soon gave place to an acceptance of it as an emblem of the power and sovereignty of the United States. Well, again, this is the eagle, which placed it above criticism. Not all the fathers of the Republic, however, were pleased with the selection of the eagle as the national emblem. Listen, y'all, some of the so-called fathers of the Republic didn't even want the eagle, but listen why. It says, when the badge of the Order of the Society of the Cincinnati was made in France in 1784, it was objected to by some because the displayed eagle resembled a turkey, and this is why they didn't like that image at first. Now, there's other reasons as far as the metaphoric lesson about the eagle. We about to get into that. But I shared this with you the other day when I read that part. They didn't want the eagle because it resembled a turkey. And I know that for the U.S. president, every Thanksgiving, they do this ritual of pardoning the turkey. It's weird, wild, but I never understood why. And I'm thinking, is this why? Like, is this related to them pardoning the turkey? Because obviously they pardoned this image of the eagle that resembled the turkey. This is what they say. You know what I mean? I didn't make this up, but it says, so for the obverse or the eagle side of the Great Seal, it says, for my part, this is Benjamin Franklin. It says, for my part, wrote Benjamin Franklin, January 26, 1784. That's your timestamp. Y'all can research that. So this is what he says. For my part, wrote Benjamin Franklin, January 26, 1784, to his daughter. He says, I wish the bald eagle had not been chosen as the representative of our country. He is a bird of bad moral character. He does not get his living honestly. You may have seen him perched on some dead tree where, too lazy to fish for himself, he watches the labor of the fishing hawk. Sound like, Uncle Sam and them to me. I mean, he's not lying. It don't seem like it so far to me anyway. But this is what he said. He says, you may have seen him perched on some dead tree where, too lazy to fish for himself, he watches the labor of the fishing hawk. And when that diligent bird has at length taken a fish and is bearing it to his nest for the support of his mate and young ones, the bald eagle pursues him and takes it from him. That sound like taxes. That sound like everything they say they represent. You going to work to feed your family, and then you got to pay somebody that wouldn't give you a loan of $500 if you needed it. What? That's crazy work. That's crazy work. It says, with all this injustice, he is never in good case. But like those among men who live by sharpening, and again, I just want to emphasize, this is what Benjamin Franklin is saying about the eagle side of the Great Seal. This is his words, not my own. But it says again, with all this injustice, he is never in good case, speaking about the eagle. But like those among men who live by sharpening and robbing, by sharping and robbing, he is generally poor and often very lousy. Besides, he is a rank coward. The little kingbird, not bigger than a sparrow, attacks him boldly and drives him out of the district. He is therefore by no means a proper emblem for the brave and the honest Cincinnati of America, who have driven all the kingbirds from our country, though exactly fit for that order of knights, which the French call chevaliers, the industry. I am on this account not displeased that the figure is not known as a bald eagle, but looks more like a turkey. What? Who are you talking to? My goodness. He says, for in truth, the turkey is in comparison a much more respectable bird, and withal a true original native of America. Eagles have been found in all countries. These are Benjamin Franklin's words. I just can't emphasize it enough. I'm not just saying this. This is in the New York Times, June 20th, 1909, right? Over 100 years ago. This is what they're saying Ben Franklin said. He says, for in truth, the turkey is in comparison a much more respectable bird, and withal a true original native of America. Eagles have been found in all countries, but the turkey was peculiar to ours. The first of the species seen in Europe, being brought to France by the Jesuits from Canada and served up at the wedding table of Charles IX. He is, besides, though a little vain and silly, it is true, but not the worst emblem for that, a bird of courage, and would not hesitate to attack a grenadier in the British Guards who should presume to invade his farmyard with a red coat. What? With a red coat on. Let me say that. The seal itself has, of course, a very limited use, which is strictly guarded by law. The Secretary of State is its custodian. Hold up. But even he has no authority to affix it to any paper that does not bear the president's signature. Before I go on, I just want to say, like, is that what y'all think? Like, you got Benjamin Franklin talking about the metaphoric representation of an eagle opposed to a turkey, and I know it sounds crazy, but what y'all think? Like, is that crazy? Like, what you think, more? Like, we got a point?
And on top of that, that's Minister Plenipotentiary talking too.
More.
So obviously somebody had to make the eagle seal the obverse. Right? Somebody made that transition because it wasn't all. If he's talking like that, then the eagle is the reverse and the obverse is the pyramid. If he's talking like that,
right?
The eagle obviously isn't the authority if that's how the plenipotentiary is talking about the eagle.
Come on now.
The minister plenipotentiary. Right? Because the even when you got the Turkey and the Turks and all that stuff, they're still making reference, just like with the Africa stuff. Oh yeah, the Africans of Northwest Africa and all that stuff, like they're not talking about Moors or something like that. Oh, the Arabs, as if they're not talking about Moors. Oh, the turkey instead of the eagle. Why don't you just use a turkey then? If it's like that, they should have just used the turkey as the symbol. If the turkey symbol is that much more prominent, that much more respected and honored, then why do they keep using the eagle for? Obviously, somebody's playing games.
Yeah. The same type of people he was speaking about that have those same characteristics of the eagle. Because they was talking, hey, you have a republic if you can keep it. That's a responsibility, fam. If you didn't recognize that, right? Like, you have a republic if you could keep it. If you can't keep it, you don't have it, right? So the people with those intentions, rocking with the eagle, and listen, I'm not sitting here, hating any natural animal. I just find it interesting that these are, like you said, minister plenipotentiary, right? Dealing with treaties of peace and friendship, all of these things, he's a part of that. And he's saying, and again, like my mom said in the chat, pay attention, talking about the eagle side, which is for the United States, and the emphasis is it was authorized by the Continental Congress, though. Like, listen, those were the Aboriginal people. 9. So, more, it gets deep. You know what I'm saying? It gets deep. And like Roger Johnson L says, instead they feast on the turkey. Yes, there's a lot of perspectives. As we going into the autumn season, I think this is appropriate to think about these things, right? Like, what, just yesterday was the day where the Constitution was signed and sealed and all of that, right? The Constitution Day was yesterday, September 17th. Here we are today, and again on the cusp of the equinox going into this season. And it's like, yo, this year, think about that when what they call Turkey Day come around and all of that. What is the levels to the celebration? Why does the president take it upon the ritual to pardon the turkey? Like, what sense does that make? Like, what's going on with these birds? Right? Like, I'm just saying on a symbolic level, because we got to learn by signs and symbols too. We have to. So I'm just saying more like, yeah, that was just deep to me. If you want to continue to read the rest of it, but that was what I wanted to highlight from that article more is that, this is Ben Franklin, one of the so-called founding fathers and all of that. Pardon me. And this is his perspective on the eagle being a part of the Great Seal, right? Which is a dual seal, the pyramid on one side and the eagle on the other. Notice he hasn't said one thing derogatory about the pyramid yet, right? I don't think they ever did. I don't think that was ever in question. So yeah, more
can't question the authority.
Right. That's again, and we're going here because when they say again, I don't know all the details, but when you say somebody say R.V. Bay and them is not authorized and they don't have this authority, we're Moors, we're from here. Again, I'm not sitting here saying I'm better than anybody else, but I give a supreme acknowledgement to my mother. I've seen on that side of my lineage, like there are people buried, they got land in the South, all on the same land that they live on, right? Like the graveyard in the back. We from here, to the best of my knowledge. I don't know about everybody else, but I don't need a permission from anybody to be myself, which is one attribute is being, in fact, a Moor. That's my lineage. I don't care what nobody got to say about that. Can't change it. It is what it is. So, and I'm not looking to be authorized by any member of a temple to be myself. I'm that. We all that before we even get there. That's just supposed to be an aid and assistance on our path and our journey, right? Like to assist us and help us with understanding, and overstanding. But that don't make us us. That's really what I'm getting at based off of what we spoke about. So yeah, more yeah. With some facts. So again, this was the talk, you know what I'm saying? Even while Noble Drew Ali was alive. You can't tell me he ain't know either. I know he had to see these things, some of these things. If he did or didn't, I'm still, it was a topic of society at these times,
You had you want to continue with that one? You had another one you wanted to check.
Listen, we could go anywhere with this. It says, I guess I'll finish reading this one.
Yeah. All right. I'll get it back up.
It says, in 1803, Chief Justice Marshall, in delivering an opinion of the Supreme Court, used the following language relative to the seal. He says, it may be considered applicable to all instruments to which the seal is affixed. The signature of the president is a warrant for affixing the Great Seal to the commission, and the Great Seal is only to be affixed to an instrument which is complete. It attests by an act supposed to be of public notoriety the verity of the presidential signature. It is never to be affixed till the commission is signed, because the signature which gives force and effect to the commission is conclusive evidence that the appointment is made. Come on now. The commission being signed, the subsequent duty of the Secretary of State is prescribed by law and not to be guided by the will of the president. He is to affix the seal of the United States to the commission and is to record it. As the duties of the government have expanded, the impracticability of having the seal of the United States attached by the Department of State to the commissions of officers who are under some other department has been recognized by Congress. By the Act of March 18, 1874, the Commission of Postmasters were directed to be made out under the seal of the Post Office Department. Again, they used the bird too, right? I got the word from a bird. You heard it before. It says the Act of March 3rd, 1875, placed the commissions the commissions of officers of the Interior Department under that department by Act of August 8, 1888. All judicial officers, marshals, and United States attorneys were ordered to be appointed under the seal of the Department of Justice, and by an executive order of June 16, 1893, President Cleveland directed that all warrants of pardon and commutations of sentences granted to offenders convicted in the courts of the United States should thereafter be made out under the seal of the Department of Justice. At the present time, the seal of the United States is affixed to the commissions of all cabinet officers and diplomatic and consular officers who are nominated by the president, though, and confirmed by the Senate. All ceremonious communications from the president. So again, consular officers, not those who are just claiming it. I mean, they're talking about those who were nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate, not just somebody saying, yo, I'm a consular general, this, that, and the third. Like this under the eagle side, right? This is what they're saying. All ceremonious communications from the president to the heads of foreign governments, all treaties, conventions, and formal agreements of the president with foreign powers, all proclamations by the president, all exequaturs to foreign consular officers in the United States who are appointed by the heads of the governments which they represent, to warrants by the president to receive persons surrendered by foreign governments under extradition treaties, and to all miscellaneous commissions of civil officers appointed by the president by and with the advice and consent of the Senate, whose appointments are not now especially directed by law to be signed under a different seal. That's just, again, and that's a historical document as far as my recollection and knowledge and acknowledgement is, because that was in the New York Times, June 20th, 1909. So you're talking about the summer solstice of 1909. Again, this is before Noble Drew Ali establishes the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Great Seal is a thing politically before that, before the Moorish Science Temple of America. And I'm just saying on the political level, this is not again any shade towards Noble Drew Ali. It's definitely not. I'm just saying, putting things in perspective. What actually existed before what? The Great Seal definitely existed before that, and it's a polarity. You know what I mean? You got the pyramid and the eagle. And you heard what the so-called fathers of the republic had to say about the eagle. That's wild to me. You know what I
Big
mean?
mad.
Yeah. Like, that's wild. Come on. You know what I mean? Some of them didn't even want that. So, yeah, more. I mean, that for that one, I guess I'll leave that there. Moving forward, anyone that stood out to you, we could get into that, man. Like, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm about to check right now.
Uh-huh. You know.
The Moorish Sheik. The Moorish Sheik. 1 second.
Oh, let's go there. Let's go there then. Yeah. Again, this is for educational purposes only. You know what I mean? Been in the trenches doing studies. Okay. Again, published April 24th, 1898. This is before the Moorish Science Temple of America. Again, I'm not trying to take no shots, but we are going to put this in perspective because, people keep taking shots at us, Harvey Day Publications, etc. In the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America, like, we're not that if we didn't come through that or not in that and they don't support that, whatever. We are a people and we have a history that predates the Moorish Science Temple of America. I don't mean any disrespect, but I will overemphasize this. As long as it's an issue, as long as y'all keep talking like that, then, we can go there. So now we're talking about a Moorish Sheik being published in the New York, a story about a Moorish Sheik being published in the New York Times in 1898. Again, Noble Drew Ali didn't establish the Moorish Science Temple of America till 1913. So for historical context, the Moorish people have been a people before that establishment. Let us not be confused. And don't blame us for being ourselves or connecting to our heritage, our Moorish heritage and history, though. Our Moorish heritage and history, though. So let's talk about it. So the Moorish Sheik, again, you already gave the date at the bottom. It says, from this Saturday review, close upon us is a long cavalcade of men on mules and on foot, some 30 or 40 in all. I know them from a distance, and already they have seen me and are leaving the track to speak a few words to me before they pass on to this town or to the town. It says the Old Moor. Again, this is 1898. It says the Old Moor with the long gray beard is a sheik of the mountaineers. I'm going to say that again. 1898, it says the Old Moor with the long gray beard is a sheik of the mountaineers. So again, when they speak today, like, yo, who made Taj a sheik and who made whoever? And again, I'm not vouching for everything everybody is doing today, but I'm like, what are y'all saying? Like, a Moor can't be a sheik unless he went to the temple? Are you kidding me? This is Moorish culture. What are you talking about? You don't have to agree for them to be your sheik. I get it. I don't either. But at the end of the day, we're not going to act like these titles only came from the temple. That's crazy to me, knowing the history. Like, nah, that's it. That's not right and exact. That's just not right and exact. So sheiks existed, specifically Moorish sheiks or chiefs existed before the temple did. Let us not be confused. All right. So it says, the Moor with the long gray beard is a sheik of the mountaineers and his authority extends over his tribe from Tangier almost to Satua in Tetuan, 40 miles and more away. He says, yet his dress is in no manner betokens his influence or rank, For the linen shirt and brown hooded jalab that he wears are common to all. Perhaps his white turban is folded a little more neatly and is of greater dimensions than those of the other elders of the band. For the young men wear nothing on their closely shaven heads except bands of red or blue cloth. And I just want to take a pause for the cause. You see how history repeats itself, though? Like when it says the young Moors, the young men of this Moorish tribe, wear nothing on their heads but red or blue cloths. What do that sound like today? Where we at? When did the Bloods and Crips start? 60s, 50s, 50s, 60s, 70s? Did the color code, right? Like it's something to the color code that is not new to no generation. Ain't nobody start nothing new. It's the same old thing. So if the young men of the tribe wore nothing on their head but red and blue cloths, I'm looking at it and I can see what that was in these days and times. You know what I mean? It's the same thing, whether they know it or not. Right? It's a reason for it. It's a reason. Like it's just in the DNA. Right? Like, okay, we're gonna use red and blue.
And then clearly they were united. So what happened?
Right. Exactly.
Clearly the red and blue are of the same tribe.
Same tribe. We're talking 1898. Before the 1900s, before the 50s, 60s, all of that, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, I know I cannot be the only one who's seeing this for what it is, reading between the lines and reading the lines and looking at what we see today. Like, yo, hold on. It ain't start with the Bloods and the Crips. Moors was rocking red and blue united back then in the 1800s. And it probably is a custom way before that, because I mean, the story of Hiram, the reason purple was chosen as the royal color is because it was a mixture of red and blue. That's what you get when you mix red and blue, you get purple. So I'm looking at the science of it. Like it's a reason. None of this, nothing is new under the sun, as they say. Moore's been doing that. It ain't new. And I'm not saying here suggesting, oh, we got a color bang and all of that. No, but I'm just saying there's certain things that just you don't know why it is what it is, but it just is what it is. You know, and then it starts to make sense. So it says the young men wear nothing on their closely shaven heads except bands of red or blue cloth or brown cords of camel's hair. He rides a pack saddle as have his ancestors for generations upon generations, and over the neck of his sturdy little mule dangle his bare legs with their yellow heelless slippers hanging from his toes. In the panniers of his pack, one obtains a glimpse of his carpet and bedding, and a belt stuffed full of cartridges, while another mule is laden with a couple of sheep, a present for the governor or bashaw who resides in Tangier. One and all bear European rifles, Winchesters, and Remingtons for the most part, and even the staid old sheep has his own across his knee. So they saying everybody in the tribe was bearing European rifles like Winchesters and Remingtons, but the sheik had one too. This is 1898, mind you. So let's just keep that in perspective. He had one across his knees. For the ways of the native authorities are treacherous, and more than once rumor has spoken of his probable imprisonment owing to his growing influence over the mountaineer tribes. But woe betide the men who should try to arrest the chief when his band of trusty followers abide, right? And that's where the article ends. So they saying this Moor, who was a sheik of the mountaineers, they were all strapped, right? The sheik had his piece and all of that. But woe to any of the men who tried to arrest him while the chief or arrest the chief while his band of trusty followers are by. Again, I'm not here trying to promote violence. I'm just saying, you know, we're looking at history for educational purposes. You take what you get from it. I'm just reading, we're just sharing, you know, Moorish historical documents. 1898. This predates the MST of A, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. But again, I'm saying that to say that for those who are saying that anybody not in the temple is not a Moor or is not Moorish or whatever, please understand that they are absolutely in error, because Moors existed before that establishment, and let us not forget that. Whether we look at them as right, wrong, or indifferent, these are people that didn't come from an organization being filed in Cook County. Like, that's not what y'all are really tweaking. But respect to the establishment and Noble Drew Ali's intentions. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, more yeah, that's what I got on that, more. You know, anything you want to add on? Yeah.
I think going back to the sheiks thing, you know, this old Moor that was a sheik, and the idea that, you know, the titles don't make us who we are, so don't get caught up in that either.
Right.
That because you hear somebody with a title, that means that, you know, they got some position or something like that. You know, their words, works, and deeds is how you know. You know.
Yep.
One of the Moors said some years ago, you put Grand Sheik on a dog. What does that mean?
Right.
You know, you're going to be chasing around this dog all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. You know. But and then again to the other side of it, that it's your birthright to be Grand Sheik. You should know what that is. You know, you should know. You should know what Grand Mufti is. You should apply that to yourself as far as what it is, the duties, how you should be carrying yourself. You know, you should be able to go through all the different titles and have some type of position, some type of knowledge in those realms. You know, you might not have got your doctorate, but you should be studying some stuff. You know, you might not know how to you know, light a fire with sticks. So you probably want to have a lighter on you or something. Right? So you might have to fake it till you make it in certain instances. You know, but don't get caught up in the title game. You know, that you need, and then if you are going to get caught up, then look at what the plenipotentiary said about the ego. If you want to play title games, at least if they say that they're consular general, they should have a consulate that they're taking you to. If they're going to say they're consulate and they have no consulate, you know, because a consulate that's a building. If they're saying that they're the, you know, grand whatever sheik whoever, they should have a space that they're opening the door or something like that for you to go in or something. They can't just be saying their random or saying their titles and they have, you know, doctor whatever, and they haven't cured anybody ever. You know, it all applies to you. The temple is you. The temple is also that building over there. And the same way you're going to protect your temple, the same way you should be protecting that building over there. Right. We say that the fez is important to the Moors. If the fez represents the womb, then you should probably be protecting wombs out here. If you really care like that. It could be called whatever. It could have a title of whatever. Just make sure you're dealing with it accordingly. Right. Make sure. Because in this, we were talking about this time of religious controversy, there's a lot of fraud happening right now. And there's a lot more ways to get caught up in all these different fraudulent jurisdictions that people are making up. There's a lot of ways to get caught up. So don't allow yourself to get caught up. Put down the stuff sometime. Go read. Go study. You know, AI doesn't have all the answers. They have some. They'll give you some good reference points. But don't get caught up. Don't have Sarah Connor looking at you crazy. Do your own due diligence. Fact check everything. All the stuff that we're talking about on here. Don't take anything for, you know. Well, Ms. said on Sons of Allah that whatever. No. Go check it. Prove it wrong first. And then when you can't prove it wrong, then you could say whoever said, because you went and checked.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's a fact. Yeah. And sometimes you gotta utilize the currency tool to get to certain references, yeah. Because like you said, AI just looking for the AI generated answer, again, it's okay, it's a good tool, but that's, as far as research, that's lazy research, because all the answers are not on Google. I promise you that. You're not going to Google everything that you need to know. Like, I know that that's just not the truth. It has not ever been the truth. Like, there's a lot of things you could pull up on Google. There was a time where you could pull up a lot of Google books and all of this, and you may still be able to, but certain things, you know, you're going to have to go into certain records, you know. And so just understand, like, just typing on your computer, say, well, you should know everything because y'all generation, y'all got the internet. Like, please be not fooled. Like, everything is not on the internet, not on the common internet anyway. Some things you got to go behind the paywall to actually get the records. It just is what it is, you know. But don't be afraid, you know what I mean? I do want to say this though, because I'm looking in the chat. And I've seen a few comments about masonry and Moors and you know, the my son conversation, and that Moors existed before masonry. And yes, you know, that's true. But the reality is, pardon me, excuse me. Yeah, the reality is ancient, the two most ancient sciences on this planet is architecture and astrology or astronomy, right? Those two. So building is actually masonry. That is what real masonry is. Not lodge initiated. You know, again, maybe we could revisit this another time because we'll be here another 2-3 hours if we try to go into that tonight. But this is what, you know, even those, I don't want to get into that, but I will say that masonry is the science of building. The pyramid is a perfect example of masonry. And I'm not talking red or blue lodge, right? Again, back to the color theme. I'm talking about the science. And that goes hand in hand with architecture. And Moors have a dedicated title of architecture, which is called Moorish architecture, which deals with the arches. So Moors are cemented literally in masonry. It's not like we gotta go get initiated as Moors into the lodge to be Moorish Mason. Like, no, when we look at our culture, our heritage, our history, Moors founded that. Moors have the most perfect shining examples of that. That's a fact. It's not no superiority games. It's not no we better than anybody. I'm saying that's the legacy. That's the history. That is the history that existed before Noble Drew Ali. As a matter of fact, he was telling us about it in Message to America, about the great buildings we built and the Taj Mahal, all of these things. So like, come on, fam. We don't let what he was really saying go over our heads and just adopt this concept of we got to be, some docile, clandestine people in the building to be Moorish Americans. Like I'm not rocking with that theory. I'm just not, And again, I really don't like to even say anything like this, but the reality is when you was telling me what you was telling me, I'm like, yo, there has to be some context for correction to these perspectives. Because I know that's what I stand on. You know what I mean? I know I'm a Moor. I've proclaimed to be a Moor, publicly and on the political level. I have, right? And I mean, at this point, almost over 20 years ago. So, I just know that I'm not gonna let anyone make me feel like I'm not who I say I am as far as my Moorish heritage and history. I respect it all, including Noble Drew Ali. You know what I mean? More. I'm not, and I don't feel like I'm wrong for that.
No, for real. You shouldn't.
Mm-hmm. I just don't feel
like people have the right to be a trader. You have a right to your own, perspective, especially if it's not violating anybody else.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like when if I'm going to have a discussion with, someone who may not know or may know a little bit, and because sometimes I know you get people, they just want to talk to you about more science. Like they like, yo, I remember you was talking about this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? And in those moments and times, you can have these conversations, but it's either you're going to take the approach of trying to convert them to the Moorish Science Temple of America, or you're going to take the approach of we can talk about the Moorish history, right? And that includes the Moorish Science Temple of America. Which one you want to do, right? And then you can make your choice for yourself that, yes, according to the history and the lead up to what Noble Drew Ali was doing, I want to be a part of that, or I don't want to be a part of that because after he did what he did, and while he was doing what he was doing, there was infiltration that still exists. So I'm gonna leave that alone and just do what I do, knowing who I am. Right? Like there's many paths people take in his life. You know what I'm saying? Specifically knowing their history, and you can't fault either way. You know what I mean? That's how I see it more. So yeah, I'm not. Again, I don't hate nobody. I grew up where you was happy to see anybody else that knew that they was a Moor. It didn't even matter what they believed. Just the fact that they knew that they was a Moor, it was like, oh, word, too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we not Negro, black, colored, this, that, and the third. It was a beautiful thing. And then it got to a point where it's like, well, yeah, I don't know. It's just so many factions. I don't know. Maybe it's always been like that, but as we get older, we just realize that's what it's always been. But I just remember those times where it didn't even. The fact that we knew we was Moors is all we needed to know, and it was just what it was. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just different. It's like, yo, you consulate, you a part of this, you part of that, you temple, and that temple is not legit, and this, that, and it's okay. Like I guess these conversations got to happen too, so we could all put the perspective out there. Because I feel like what we shared tonight and what I was saying and what I'm standing on, I feel like I'm right and exact. I don't. I mean, it works for me. I don't know about anybody else. You know what I'm saying? But look, it is what it is.
Salam.
Yeah.
More. It was a great build as usual.
For sure, more and I know my fault. Yeah, I know it's a lot more to get into, but for the night, I trust we did well and continue to do good and share information and build. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, for sure. On that note, we'll be back with some more. We'll go through some more historical records. That was the aim for the night, and you know, I don't know, had to put that in there too, man, because I'm like, damn, here we go again. Again, I didn't see it what they said, but I'm just that general narrative that's out there.
It's just general at this juncture. It's general, you know, because we know that there's many different elements that hate mother, you know, in different ways and shapes and forms. They just have you know, they have whether it's their own generational trauma or their own mom's toxicity that they're trying to put on others or something like that. But we know that there's that element out there. So, you know, just caveat emptor, you know, keep your mind open, head on a swivel, you know. Trust everyone, but trust no one.
Bro, I'm looking at it these days, and I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I'm like, man, some of these people I don't have no reason to trust, bro. Betrayal is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's I don't know, more like I would still say even in that, protect yourself, because some of these people again see not evil in anyone. What does it say in the Circle 7? Don't expect evil in anyone till you see it, and when you see it, forget it not, right? And so I be looking at it like from the aspect of just the 5 principles, and how for some people of opposing views, that's all good, but the hatred and the lies on us and all of that, I'm like, damn, that's crazy work. I don't know, like it showed me I can't just trust everyone, because they show themselves on in all of their egotistic, grandioso ways, right? Downplaying everybody else. And I'm like, nah, man, like all of these people is not you know, nah. I don't feel that. Like I got love and all of that, but nah, some of these people, bro, like they sold the profit out. What they gonna do to us? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like what love, what trust, you know what I mean? Where's that supposed to go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was that from the jump, but now it's looking like, yo, hold up. Nah. Yeah, when you really think about it, like they did him like that. They did Yahshua like that. What? What? You I would say anybody moving forward, if you are a messenger and you're gonna spread your message to the world, just no ab initio, you're gonna have naysayers and just know how to deal with that. Like, because yeah, you will be surprised. The people that claim to be what you be, and you know, they say they do honor Noble Dry Lee and don't really know his work and all of that. And I'm not saying I'm better, because I have my portion of understanding, which is a treasure of Allah. You know, others have another understanding, but just understand that just because y'all say that, like they may be your enemy there more. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it could be them. It could be them. So I've learned that more. I thought it was different, but now I know it's not, and I'm cool with knowing that, and I move accordingly. All these Moors that say you see them, you see what they be doing. You know what I mean? You see them.
Yeah.
You see them? Yeah, those ones. Yeah, no. So again, you know, I don't know more if I become a little jaded to it, but from what I'm seeing and what I've seen them do to previous messengers and messiahs, Mashiachs, and I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah.
And then I'm just not, bro. Like I tried to be, but then I started realizing like it's an issue because it's something gonna get in the way. This person ain't gonna like what this person say or how they do it, and now it's a fallout. Everything is just crazy, bro. So that's why I think chapter 3 is important. Higher, lower self. Please, y'all, keep in mind your savior is yourself. We can't be your savior or your heroes. Like we just here to share information, give perspectives, and hopefully you can save yourself. That's the ultimate goal. You know, that's what's in chapter 3. Save you. If you're looking for your savior, look within. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is one of the most valuable lessons in the Circle 7, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That I really do believe that. But my fault, I didn't mean to drag on. But yeah. That part.
It's love.
Yeah.
Honors to all the Moors out there. Honors to all the Moors in the chat. Give thanks, Ms. Another great build.
Yes, indeed.
We're here every third Thursday, most times. Every third Thursday we're here. Canaanland Moors YouTube. Don't forget, check the archives. You know, put in Canaanland Moors, RV Bay, Canaanland Moors, Aleem, Canaanland Moors, Rosmaria Bay. See what pops up. There's a lot up there.
Yeah, so, a lot of that is archived, bro, and it's
a lot up there.
Mm-hmm. Yup. Because even like how we just went back into the New York Times articles 100 years ago, you know what I mean? You know, in the future, this could be the same situation. People be looking back at these conversations.
Yeah.
Like, yo, this conversation actually is going back like 200 years because this was 100 years ago and they went back 100 years ago. What they talking about? You know what I mean? You never know. Those records be important, bro. So, you know what I mean? Much respect to that. Definitely check out Canaanland Moors YouTube page. All those official old archives, bro, for a long time. Yeah. And again, shout out to everyone in the chat, man. We'll definitely be back.
We will.
Yeah. And yo, you know what? Again, we 11 years plus, bro. Last month, I know it was necessary for that reset, bro. You know what I mean? So yeah, most times we be on it, but if we don't, it's all good. Like you said, there's always archives there, and we always gonna have something for y'all, you know. With that, I say peace, Moorish.
It's a lot, Moors. Peace.
Yeah.
Northgate. H2O flow. Sheik, Canaanland Moorish. Release fall. Shalon Davis. Salute. Hot house. Check it. They say they wanna learn, they only debate. Referencing the truth, trust me, they only sound the great. Study nationality before you question my estate. I'm not a minority, why you so late? Majority rules, here comes the test. Fact, that's my hand in the form of a feet on the chest. That's a womb that is blessed like a moon and a crest. Major forever, infinite mindset. Major from birth, that's a seed in process. I'm a Moor that is easy to digest. Competent, never terrenilious. That is my land, never faking. Sacred traditions, petitions for what you're not Jamaican. Westmoreland to Portmore, everybody needs more. If you please more, following the apostle, we should be more. I see the unseen more, we more. That's a fact. Canaanland.
say they wanna learn, complain classes are too long. Don't want it on a phone call, energy too strong. Get it from the wrong source, now they way off course. Think they must be Muslim and give up on all sports. Should give up the red meat, must give up on all porks. Won't be yelling haram when the bottles are uncorked. Eating with the spoon, use forks for tuning. Eating humble pie, no ego ballooning. Samson 2 caterpillars, got him cocooning. As the full moon hung, spiral energy moving. Up through the crown chakra, energy shooting. And told me upload classes before live YouTubing. 16,000 subscribers, 20% consuming. 80% troll pretending to be tuned in. Comment on every video, pushing the thumbs down. We'll push the link when we live just like a clown. Pouring in the incompetence, always debating. Dissing Drew Ali, but won't give their location. His image on the black banner, that's placation. Just get him out of here, Yusuf yells in frustration. We know they're playing games, we're not berating. Calling 911, scimitars penetrating. In defense of prophets and mothers abused. And newly awakened Moors, amused and confused.